and welcome to the VAS week number 4. I am Camcom, joined by Infinite and Kevfo here on the analysis desk. We've got RPG Cubs taking on CBZ, a 3-0 versus 1-1 Group C matchup. How are you guys doing here tonight?
You know, I am ready for some red-hot VAS action, some of the most exciting League of Legends there is to watch. Kevbo, how are you feeling?
I'm good. I'm a little bit scatterbrained right now. My prep work went a little bit crazier than it should have. A little bit of a clarification of rules. I think I might have made a captain for Panda's freak out just a little bit, but we're here. We're ready. Nara's got a bow tie,
Yes.
so I mean, I'm hyped.
That was going to be my
Swag!
next question, actually, is how is Nar doing? Of course, the most important member here on the AD.
Yeah, he's pretty good. He's just been grinding solo queue this week, getting
Yeah.
ready for
Feel
MSI.
that. Yep, Nar. What team is he playing on an MSR, actually?
All of them. And with that, I mean, probably the bench.
I mean, yeah, NAR priority hasn't really existed at this MSI. DFM got knocked out in groups. And even Evie, who's been a big time NAR Renekton 2-trick most of their career, kind of switched over to more like Tryndamere, Camille, really in your face type stuff. So I can't think of any NAR aficionados really in the tournament at this point. Rest in peace, little dinosaur Yordle. We hardly knew ye.
My CB LOL friends, I think the main people that would probably pick Nar and Renekton did unfortunately get knocked out in groups. So if they had made it through, maybe we could have gotten to see some more Nar and Renekton. Those are just my favorite champions in CB LOL, man. They work every time. Truly proven to be perfect, especially on R1 and B1.
Kevbo, you don't know the pain of casting a minor region whose Nar Renekton priority is through the roof. It's not fun. But, Cam, as Red Canid's misfortune arrived, fortune arrived for the Red Pandas, who are one of the teams we're covering here tonight, going up against CBZ. Should be an absolute banger matchup.
Infinite, I heard we got a League of Legends 2.0 drop today. Have you heard about League of Legends 2.0? I heard there's some very, very minor changes. Someone call it a very small patch to the game here today.
Yeah, we got some interesting set of changes coming on 12/10. If you live under a rock, today was patch day, hit at about 6 a.m., and of course the servers were down for 4 full hours before I could finally get back in and get my hands on this new League of Legends, but I got the full report waiting and ready for anybody who is unaware of the fact that, here's the secret, League of Legends is fun again. And I hope the teams...
You can't say that. You can't say that.
I can say that with plenty of authority, and I hope the teams are ready to have some fun tonight with our changed up League of Legends. But in all seriousness, Kev, the long-promised durability update coming on through today, putting a lot of stuff forward to make the game play a little bit slower, should be really, really exciting.
Yeah, I think it gives a lot of potential, or a lot more potential for players to have individual outplays, of course. It's a little hard to kill people. You got to be a little bit better at that kiting and, using your abilities effectively.
Yeah, definitely so. Do you think either of these teams here tonight are feeling the changes of a more drawn-out skirmish-heavy meta a little bit more positively?
I think if anything, it'll just mean that players resort to a little bit more safety. I'd imagine a lot more of those late game team fight comps going to keep on coming through.
That's my favorite thing to see. I mean, it should be an absolute banger. But if we want to get into some of the specifics of what it is exactly we can be expecting tonight, do have a nice little PowerPoint slice and dice, some slides coming at you, ready to go. I do notice, Cam, no cool transitions for my PowerPoint slides. I am shocked and appalled.
I'm so sorry, man. He sent these to me 20 minutes before, and he's expecting so much from me. This is crazy.
You click a button to turn on Rubik's Cube mode or spinny fade out mode. You have transitions on transitions. Don't play with my my slides like that. But
Ugh.
let's get into the subject matter at hand. We got a durability update dropping today on 1210. Now you might be asking yourself at home, Infinite, what is the durability update? Well, the durability update is basically Riot looking at the game, and probably Reddit, where people have been saying this for a long time, going, no, there's a little too much damage in the game. It's a little too bursty. It's a little too coin flippy. The skill expression has sort of dropped down a bit. So what we're going to do is try and ship some changes specifically aimed at making fights last longer, leave more room for the skill expression of the kiting, the multiple rotations of abilities like Kevbo had mentioned, but without turning the game into a grindy, sloggy, jaded sort of hedgy game state like we saw in the sort of 2015-2016 really slow-paced, tank metas, Korean vision control metas. We're not trying to get that. We're just trying to get those champions that want to be fighting for a while, mainly your AD carries and your melee fighters up in the top lane. Give them a little bit of love. Give the tanks some love too.
Yeah, it really does mostly just seem like the biggest part of this update, as you did say, was we don't want to make all of the games 50 minutes. I think that was one of the biggest points that Riot really had about this update, but at the same time, we don't want to nerf all damage. That wasn't what was on the table. It was buffing all the resistances, all the health, as opposed to just straight up nerfing the damage, which I actually quite like, because if everyone was just like suddenly dealing 20% less damage and then like not having the same resistances that they have now, I think that would just not be as fun as this is.
Yeah, definitely so. If we do want to tick on over and look at how Riot did sort of specifically aim for that, you mentioned 20% less damage sort of threshold they were targeting. It's like you said, they didn't do it by actually nerfing damage numbers on any champions. Instead, they chose to give base tank stats to every single champion in the game. From Yuumi to Anivia, they all have 70 extra base health at level 1. They're all getting 14 more extra health growth per level as compared to last patch, which equals about 240 more health at level 18, 310-ish health total, counting that extra base health, so about 2 ruby crystals, 800 gold worth of stats at level 18 for every single character in the game. It should be really, really cool to see. I played a couple of games today myself, some Vladimir, some on-hit Nico, some things that really like these more extended sort of fight states to really pump all their damage out and target a lot of people and kite and have the time of their lives. And it was really, really fun. I'm having more fun with League than I have in a very long time. But I know what you're saying at home. You're saying, Infinite, it's too good to be true. Riot is not capable of shipping something that makes the game purely more fun to play. No. Surely this is going to result in champions with already high base tank stats or champions with lots of sustain mechanics built into their kit, way too powerful and way too hard to move. It's just going to be a tank meta. But Camcom, I got great news for you. If we take it over to the next slide, we got some checks and balances being shipped out by, the big brain balance team over at Riot. They've done it again. They've delivered another banger. Every healing and shielding effect in the game, every system which infers healing or shielding on to champions, whether that be from items, rune choice, summoner spells, your own abilities, even the drakes like the mountain drake and the ocean drake, which give resistances, regeneration, the souls give the shielding. It's all been nerfed. It's all been nerfed by a little bit early, about 10%, and a lot more late, around 30%. Essentially, it's Riot saying we want you to be tankier, but we don't want sustain to run absolutely rampant. Now, Grievous Wounds in a world with weaker healing Kev would be a little bit bust at that point. So that got a compensation nerf by about 10% at both levels of Grievous Wounds. But essentially, we're looking at a hopefully non-tank meta, but longer, less AD carry getting one-shot meta.
Definitely going to be more fun for ADCs to not get one-shot by everything.
Indeed.
Even Orin has been having some issues. I've been playing a lot of Orin, honestly, recently. Even though I am a support main, been playing a lot of Orin, and I'm surprised how often I just get hit twice with something and I'm dead.
It's been a problem for a while, but Riot hooked us up. They got us ready. They gave us the juice in terms of the patches of the year, better than preseason. I mean, what even was preseason 12? Nothing. A whole load.
2 dragons. That's it. Which one of them got removed? So it's like 1 dragon.
Exactly. What are we doing at this point? We got, basically a preseason update here in the midseason update. So it's going to be some really exciting stuff here to see my first taste, and hopefully your first taste at home, of competitive league in a new era, a tankier era.
Tankier era, hopefully longer team fights and less one-shotting era as well. Kevbo, how is this specifically going to impact our teams tonight? CBX versus RPG.
Well, I got to take a look back, like I said, at both of our teams tonight. There have been some interesting things. I do see some Ornn coming out from both the top laners, so would not be surprised to see some high priority on that one this evening. But a lot of just very interesting picks, especially coming from the side of Red Panda Gaming. Their jungler played, it was CBZ, whose jungler was a little crazy here, has already played Ivern this split.
I love that. Love the Ivern. My favorite champion. I got to plat for the second time on Ivern, actually, so my favorite champ. You'll never guess the first champ.
Janna.
No.
Nautilus.
Wait, I'll give you a hint.
Jigglypuff. Nunu!
Nunu? What?
Let's go! Oh, I'm sorry. Nunu and Willump.
Yeah,
we have to
come
make that.
on. You're leaving out the more important guy here. But yeah, Ivern. Gotta love the Ivern. I'm looking forward to the B1 Ivern champions that I've seen in I don't know how to call it the now meta. The meta that I was watching yesterday on some other certain stream Wukong was a very high priority. So is Viego. I would like to think that they're still pretty high priority. Of course, that was yesterday, an entirely different game of League of Legends. So meta is still very hard to divine right now. Most players don't even know the meta right now. But if we're going off of yesterday, Wukong and Viego, I would say, are pretty high up there.
Yeah, we saw a lot of the priority on the Wukong and the Viego, one more successful than the other at MSI. I think Wukong definitely going to be benefited by these changes coming through in 12-10, going to be able to utilize his stacking passive in that stone skin, going to be able to utilize the Conquer, which is his favorite rune, build that up over time, find massive multi-man CCs with that Cyclone, and just, scrap it out for a good long time. These bruisers and these fighter champions, these more nimble fighters like himself, like Aurelia, they're sort of built to thrive in a meta like this where they can really ramp up over time. I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of Trinity Force champions get a lot better. Trinity Force sort of sticking around like that somewhat viable but not like meta-defining mythic item up there in the top lane. I think going to be a lot stronger on this patch. A lot of really exciting stuff to look out for. Stay away from Viego if MSI is anything to take notes from.
Okay.
That's a trap pick.
Potentially, but we will hopefully have the draft here for our game 1 here today in just a couple of minutes. We will be going to a short break here now as we head into game 1 draft.
Here we are. We are just waiting for a little second here for these teams to get ready and raring to go in the draft phase. But that gives us some time to break it down. Once again, I'm Infinite Dodge, joined by Kevbo. Kev, we didn't really get to talk. We were so busy with all the new patch excitedness on the desk about how we expect this matchup here to go tonight. CBZ sitting at 1-1, Red Panda a little bit more hot coming in, but of course CBZ did have that bye as well, so haven't really gotten to get going as much. Haven't gotten those engines in gear. Who are you looking at as the favorite here tonight?
Well, I think the obvious favorite is our 3-0 here. Red Panda coming in very strong, obviously undefeated thus far. I don't believe they've lost a single game in their series yet. I could be wrong about that. I didn't get to finish my notes here. But of course, CBZ, still a very strong team, 1-1. I will point out that the game that they did lose was their first game. So had that week to recover, came back nice and strong. It's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, definitely so. I mean, I think it goes back to a little bit of what we were talking about last week in terms of how week 3, week 4 is when you really start to see the cream rise to the top and all the little bits and pieces sink to the bottom, and you sort of get an idea of who's really a contender in this league and who is, of course, a pretender. Now, CBZ has some recognizable names. We got Triple B up in the top lane, Smitty. I do believe CBZ was CB Vegas last split. They made a pretty deep playoff run. I could be wrong about that, as our lovely producer Camcom did point out. CB has a new team every week, so can't really speak to how those iterations evolved into each other, but definitely CBZ, definitely not a team to be underestimated here, but Red Panda really proving themselves as the hot thing right now in the Victoris Amateur Series Group C. So we'll see if they continue that here tonight, as we are just waiting for the draft to get underway. Players love to get in the lobby and sit there for 10 minutes is what they do. It's a natural behavior of a red panda in a red panda sanctuary. It's like, anything pandas do. They're pretty lazy. You just got to give them time to get down to it. So we'll get there in just a little bit. But Kev, in the meanwhile, give me some of those big brain predictions. What do you think is going to come out in the draft? Show off that clairvoyance of yours, sir.
So there's a lot of interesting picks. Unfortunately, most of the interesting picks are coming from players who are actually not going to be able to make it to today's game. It is important to say that Red Pandas, now they are coming in as favorites, 3-0. They do have 2 subs in both their mid and AD carry spots. So my research on them, not really going to be great. They banned Blitzcrank. Why'd you do this to me? You started the day by banning Blitzcrank.
Oh.
I am convinced. They just hate me.
They do hate our resident hook support extraordinaire in Kevbo. The counter response is going to be the Wukong. We covered that pretty extensively in the pregame, right? That champion's going to be nasty on this 12-10 meta.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd imagine, though, we are going to continue to see some of these tankier options banned out. The support for CBZ does like to play some enchanters as well, so we'll have to see if those get banned out. Going to go towards a Fizz ban instead.
Maybe this is a bit of a target over at Smitty. It's also possible they've heard the rumblings from deep in the ocean that the Tank Fizz top lane is coming back, and who knows? I mean, it's 12-10. It's a whole new League of Legends. It very well could be. So they will take that one off the board. And you know what? New scaling meta. Gotta get rid of Jinx. Jinx from Arcane, not allowed.
Yeah, so we're going to see, I was going to say, Aphelios or Gwen going to get banned out here. Another one of those very prominent picks. Of course, there are still a lot of big teamfight champs that are left. Like I pointed out, the Ornn, I'm surprised doesn't have more priority. I would have thought that one of these teams would have banded out B1 just because of that safety that he offers.
Yeah, he offers a whole lot as bring on the Enchanters. That's a Lulu first pick coming in from Red Panda Gaming. That is quite the statement coming on through. What do you want to see to counter this out in lane a little bit here, Kev?
I think that they need to pick something with similar scaling. Of course, I'd imagine that the Lu is going to get matched up with one of those really good late game team fights. I know the Vayne is still up. That's maybe something that I would look towards as a possible pick for Red Pandas here. Of course, going to see that Lilia priority, which is honestly kind of surprising. Haven't seen too much of that.
Yeah, I mean, Volguy coming on in here for CBZ. Could be a comfort pick. It feels like with Lilia it so often is. I don't know if it's necessarily R1 worthy, but they're going to scoop that up, get a bit of a hyper farmer in that jungle. Paired up with the Misfortune, you can find big wombos with that interaction. For those who are unaware, the dreamy mist that Lilia puts down onto enemies to put them to sleep, you will only be woken up from it if you are hit with something that is not a damage over time tick. And Misfortune's bullet time does actually count as a DOT tick, so it does not wake up sleeping Lilia targets. So it's a pretty sick little combo. If you can get a multi-man sleep, you can bullet time right over them, and it won't wake them from the sleep. But the response coming through, Diana, RPG really looking to put together a bit of a wombo comp here.
Yeah, and I think it is important to point out here, Emperor in the bot lane for ZBZ has only played 3 champs, and 2 of them were Jinx and Misfortune, so kind of surprised to see that one go over. Of course, only played those in the losses. Going to have a Kog'Maw possible flex come out from the side of Red Pandas, though.
Yeah, I like this a lot. Add some ambiguity to their draft here in the first phase. It would be very standard to pair that with the Lulu down the bot lane. They are a classic duo in such a manner that Kog'Maw often thought of as only viable as a bot lane carry with the Lulu along his path there down in that bottomest of lanes, but could also be a mid lane flex, keeps the possibility open as the response will be the hook support in the Nautilus, and I think I like what CBZ is going for. They're saying we have the early game poke AD carry and MF, you're trying to play for scaling, we're just going to go all in on your face, CC you, drop some poke on you, and win out before you can scale.
I was about to say, if Ornn doesn't get banned this rotation, I am shocked. But going to see that one immediately come out, it will be interesting to see what these top laners do decide to play. Neither of them really are huge tank players.
Yeah, and now we're seeing some of those AD fighters taken away as well. I'm not sure if Ahri is really going to be as impactful as a burst sort of assassin champion in this new meta. I mean, we're so fresh on the cusp, but a lot of things are still developing. Only time will tell, but I feel like there's probably a bit more you could have taken away. The likes of the Camille's, the Fioras, depending on what you're targeting. If you're getting rid of one of those AD splitters, maybe you want to target some others for Booty Bang and Billy up there, who has been oftentimes a highlight reel player, but we will see what the response will be from CBZ here. They have both solo lanes left to pick, and it will be Victor for Smitty there.
Yeah, not at all surprised to see another mid lane scaling mage coming in for ZBZ here. Very interesting draft coming out from both sides. Of course, CBZ is very traditional. I'm not at all surprised to see all of these paired together, all good team fighters. I imagine they're going to round that out with probably some CC on the top side. But Renata going to come out here, and is it Lulu solo lane?
We were looking at the Kog'Maw to be a potential solo lane flex, but I think you've hit the nail on the head here. I mean, we've seen solo lane Lulu in previous metas. 70 extra base health at level 1. Maybe they think it's tanky enough to stand on its own in the solo lane.
Yeah, I mean, Victor isn't going to have a ton of early game damage, and this was actually something that I almost talked about. I'm kind of disappointed I didn't. Olaf going to come out here, I think is going to be a very good pick in this meta. He just recently got buffed on top of the fact the scaling and slow coming in from the queue is going to, I think, allow for chase downs, which is going to be a little bit more important.
Yeah, he's going to be augmented by that Lulu as well. Oftentimes, it's been said by the likes of LS and those into the cult of scaling that, as there's the Fiora response that we had called in the second phase of bans going to come through for Booty Bang and Billy, either into the Olaf or a Lulu in some scenario. We'll see how it does all get unraveled here. Lots of flexibility for RPG. But it's often said by the likes of LS, right, that if you're going to pick Olaf, you got to give him an enchanter to work with because otherwise he just falls off too hard in the late game. But those enchanters sort of, they form a symbiotic relationship where Olaf can snowball the team early while the enchanters are scaling up, and then once they have the power to augment him, he doesn't fall off as hard in the late game with them giving him buffs. And now he has two. He has the Renata Glass and the Lulu.
Yeah, I mean, going to be really good, like you said, for that Olaf. At the same time, What is this draft from Red Panda Gaming Cubs? Who's going where? There's two potential junglers. Realistically, it is a Lulu solo lane. I don't imagine that we're going to see Renata go anywhere but support, which would make Kog'Maw bot.
Yeah,
I still have no clue though. Olaf jungle,
my gut
Lulu top.
My gut feeling is it's going to be Lulu mid and Olaf top. I could be wrong. It could, as you point out, be Lulu top, Olaf jungle, Diana mid. There are many permutations, but I'm feeling like it's going to be Olaf up in that top lane. So strong as a top jungle flex since that mini rework did come in on 12.8, I believe. Gave him the W percent missing health shield, gave him the never-ending ultimate with the auto attack extensions. So, I mean, RPG really just making it so hard for CBZ to prepare going into lane because they can mix and match these lane matchups in any given way they want. I have to ask you, though, independent of what the lane matchups will be and how that will impact the early game, Kev, overall in the 5v5 scenario, I see a lot of possibilities for both of these teams to flourish in team fights, but who's going to do it better?
I think it really depends on how good the Renata ult is. Olaf, of course, is always going to be able to run in for Red Panda Gaming, but if that Renata ult only hits onto a couple members, it's really, really easy for CBZ to kite back and just wait till that disappears, turn with Nautilus, Q ultimate, get some sleeps, bullet time over the top. Like you said, both teams have just an insane team fight combo here, but I think really that Renata engage with the ultimate is going to be really important here.
Yeah, definitely so. I could see the play of both of these enchanters for the Red Pandas really making or breaking the way they want to execute this composition, peeling for their carries, keeping them pumping out that DPS as the game does go on later. But I could also see a couple of clear win conditions for CBZ, right? If that Fiora gets ahead in a fighter versus fighter matchup up against the Olaf, or even against the Lulu, if she gets a free lane where she can't really be bullied off of her capability to scale up and split, collect a lot of plate gold, it could really get hairy. So it should be a really interesting matchup. I'm digging both of these drafts a lot, as we should know in just a second as client draft gets completed where exactly these flexes are going. Right on time, Camcom bringing it on through. So it will be as I thought, with the Olaf going on top. A little bit more expected for CBZ. We kind of knew where that was all going, but any last thoughts before we do throw it to a quick break here, Kev, now that we see how the flexes have been unflexed for the side of RPG?
I don't know how the Fiora into Olaf matchup goes, but I will tell you I played against an Olaf and Clash, I think, last weekend. Like, level 5, he was proxying my wave. I don't know what this champion is. I'm excited to see how Draconus will play this one. Other than that, just going to be, I think, a pretty good game coming in from both sides.
Yeah, definitely so. I'm an Olaf top aficionado myself. I do think you have moments of opportunity to punish the Fiora, but it's mostly a skill matchup. Really depends on how the riposte goes. We'll see how it does play out. I want to keep my eyes up on that top lane for sure, but we will see how it all comes to bear right after a quick break, so stay right where you are. We'll be back soon. All right, there, everybody. We have arrived onto the Rift for game number 1 between Red Panda Gaming and CBZ. I am Infinite Dodge, joined by Kevbo. We got such exciting drafts to see here, Kev. It's going to be an absolute bangerang and a half.
Yeah, it's something. I mean, we already got Ghost Ignite top Olaf and a Lulu mid.
Based Olaf pops the bone plating at level 1 for Triple B, who even more Chad move, just keeps on dancing right through it, daring the side of RPG to do something about it, as Draconus doesn't want any of that. The power of Triple B just a little bit too strong there.
Yeah, both teams gonna come out onto the map. It looks like we're going to have clears going in opposite directions for the junglers here. Wasaka going to start on that bot side, and Vulgai on the top, and a little bit of spice for you all. I was informed before the game that Vulgai actually used to play on Red Panda Gaming, so going to see which side is going to get the better of the other here.
Yes, a bit of a revenge tour for Vulgai. We'll see if the Predator Lilia is the avenue from which that revenge can be extracted as we see the push go over to CBZ level 1. How are we feeling about that angle of attack on the deer here?
Yeah, I mean, I don't play a lot of Lilia. I have not really seen a lot of Lilia in recency either, so kind of a weird pick. I don't think it's necessarily the best. I'd imagine that Electrocute is going to allow you to do a lot more damage more often, but of course, move speed always helpful for ganking on a jungler.
Yeah, definitely so, as we did check in on that bot lane there. It looks like, despite the early push from Emperor and Sandli, it will be a nice little bounce back for the RPG boys down there. Should be able to catch up in experience and get a nice protective wave for themselves to secure a counter crash and maybe an early back. Very, very important for that scaling bot lane of Renata Cog. Doesn't have a whole lot of early game power to play around those waves successfully, not leave themselves open to attack very often, as we see Draconus hit 3 first, going to push through the wave and land a little bit of poke, but Triple B too close to the turret for anything to really come of it. Still just waiting for one of these teams to make an aggressive move, which might not necessarily be the wave in this 12-10 landscape.
Yeah, especially the way this early game is going. Like you said, with the patch, I wouldn't at all be surprised to see these teams just wait until maybe even that second or third Drake to even start contesting each other, unless there's something spicy with Olaf using Ghost Ignite, or something in the bot lane where Nautilus maybe gets a hook here.
Yeah, that's going to be the max distance dredge line coming out from Sondly, plus the burst as well. Hyper does manage to lift through, but it costs 2 summoner spells for RPG. Still ticking very low as well. The return trade isn't really that great, as Emperor even going to land more there onto X. That is a thoroughly won trade coming through from a bot lane that was drafted to do just that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Nautilus and MF going to have a lot of bursts here, and it looks like things are getting spicy in the top lane.
Yeah, the opportunity for the cross-map for Saka going behind Triple B, but those augmented turrets like Campcom pointed out in the pregame, absolutely shredding through Rasaka. They're not pressing their luck on that dive, even with the Ignite still available for Draconus. They knew they would be trading 1-for-1 at best, so they do back off. But good to see some early aggressive moves coming out on, the respective sides of the map where we expected it.
Yeah, and I think Draconus really needs to get this wave to either finish pushing towards them so they can get a freeze, or maybe try to bounce it off the turret. But still going to be kind of an interesting one, like we said, on that top side. I'm very interested to see whether this Olaf can get the right wave set up. But it looks like Vulgai might be looking to gank them again.
Yeah, coming through the lane, maybe going to try and play with the bush vision a little bit. Doesn't seem to have been spotted so far. Draconus maybe getting a bit of a false sense of security, but now the Vital being hit. Triple B going to find the chase down with the fully stacked Conqueror, doing very decent damage, but still hasn't managed to secure a full shove on the wave yet. Draconus in a very safe spot still has the Ignite as well, going to find the chunk onto the Fiora. Definitely difficult to find an angle here with Vulgai only level 4, but has those tier 2 boots, maybe can find the Swirl Seed, but it's not going to be a whole lot of damage, especially with that shielding. Didn't pop the Predator either, saved it, so Draconus just sort of shrugging it off.
And really importantly, I don't think the slow from the Swirl Seed quite hit there. Of course, Olaf can just throw the axe backwards and get a return on that slow. This is going to allow, though, that Drake take for Red Panda. Nice to see some early stacking of those objectives, especially definitely in a lane that shouldn't have prio.
Yeah, it was a bit of a moment of opportunity. The bot lane of RPG says, well, Lilia is up top, failing to make a gank happen. We have our jungler here as the, sort of perpendicular paths have led them to be on opposite sides at various times. We can cover on this Drake. We can get an advantage for ourselves, and along with a little bit of a gold advantage, no, not a whole lot, RPG now finds the first neutral objective as well. They're sitting really pretty at 6 minutes.
Yeah, they're already starting to extend a bit of a gold lead, especially on that top side, almost doubling the CS for Draconus there. Really, I think, pretty important, and I love to see coming in this matchup that I'd imagine is pretty Olaf favored early.
Yeah, as we do see that 20 CS lead, really demonstrating the power of this new Olaf, a very, very lane-dominant pick into other melees for sure. Triple B even getting the help from the jungler, not really able to find anything. Now the wave in a bad spot, but Rasaka wasn't able to find that first crescent, so not going to get the instantaneous follow-up, and Booty Bang and Billy gets out of there without blowing any sums.
Yeah, Lulu, of course, having a fun time in lane against anything by herself, is keeping the CS pretty even, which you do like to see. But of course, is going to, I imagine, continue to struggle without a friend nearby.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a lucky break for Lulu that it's the side lanes that have received so much attention, the top side for RPG and the bot side for CBZ most of the time so far this game. Kind of just allowed to free scale, but once again, Triple B just not being left alone, does have to blow the flash this time. Wants to catch up to the Olaf here, but the wave management has been absolutely brutal coming through from Draconus, just keeping this wave on his side, and now it's Triple B against Rasaka in the bush. There's the Moonfall coming on out, but the riposte was beautiful, along with the Swirl Seed going to force the flash out from the opposing jungler. There's the Drowsy, but it's not enough as they pick up the first blood, and now it's Draconus trying to run on out of dodge. That's 3 members chasing you down, grinding you up. That's the first 2 kills going over to CBZ.
Yeah, really good awareness by the solo laners of CBZ, going to collapse onto that one and pick up an early kill, or an early couple of kills, of course. they're really trying to shut down this Fiora and her potential to split push in this early game, but a kill now going to be possibly a little bit of a swing factor in that top lane.
Yeah, definitely so. Also finally gets to crash that wave that they had been looking for so long. Up there is Triple B, so not going to be as abused as they were. Still at a pretty significant CS deficit, but now we'll get the chance to catch the backdraft, so to speak, and pick up a little bit more, but it's a nice little exchange from CBZ, proving that they are going to utilize some of the early power of their comp that they do have. I would like to see this bot lane force a little bit more advantage, though, before this Kog'Maw really gets off and running.
And we're starting to get to that point where we might see some team fights coming out. Of course, that second dragon going to be an Ocean Drag here in about a minute and a half. Teams are going to contest this, I'd imagine.
Yeah, the Ocean Drake, definitely a valuable individual Drake. It is actually going to be the Hextech Drake second. I don't blame you for not catching that, because Riot has still yet to fix Hextech Drake here, going on the 10th patch of the Hextech Drake existing in the game. We still don't have an icon that works for it in spectator view, so it is going to be that Ocean Drake icon subbed in. But speaking of neutral objectives, Kev, it's Raska taking advantage on this top side here with the Pride of the Olaf secured to get on over to that Herald.
Yeah, just really good map play from Red Panda here, of course. Really kind of, like you said, just waiting on this bot lane to try and get up and scaling. Of course, Olaf going to be strong early, but it's really dependent in the late game that this Kog'Maw does get up and running.
Yeah, and not punished so far. We saw at level 1, Emperor and Sonley did force 2 Summoner spells out from Hyper Index, but didn't manage to capitalize any further, right? So it's really starting to get a little bit alarming. I mean, CBZ did pick up a couple of early kills, but between the gold advantage accrued just by the CS and now the neutral objective advantage and the free scaling of the bot and mid lanes, it feels like they're really not bringing enough pressure to RPG to really make up for what's coming later.
Yeah, and you really should be afraid of that late game coming in. 2 Enchanters going to see a gank, though.
Yeah, they're trying to find that early pressure, but it just gets turned right around on them. They tried to force a play, but Raska was not even tickled there. They're going to pick up a 1 in return, or RPG, and now they're trying to find that artillery from a distance back onto Emperor as the chase down does come out from X. Runs out of mana on that greedy little Void Puppy, so cannot continue the chase down, but still a big win, especially with that Herald getting dropped.
Yeah, going to get the Herald charge as well, going to put even more gold in the pocket of that Kog'Maw that we were just talking about, and Lulu even feeling a little spicy here, trading pretty aggressively with the Victor.
That should just not happen, Kev.
Yeah, I'm very surprised to see that one. Of course, there aren't going to be teamfight ults, at least the Diana Moonfall not going to be here. Lily also used her ult. It looks like we're going to have a teamfight here, though.
Yeah, it will be the second Drake picked up for RPG, but is it a little bit of a pinch situation as Vulgai helps to find the first kill there? Mountain Drake hitting the rift as we just see RPG getting wiped out in the pit, but can they find something in return? Yes, they do. X kiting it out so effectively with that bailout as well. Can't find the second takedown to extend his life, but the Renata and the Lulu combining to give the Kog'Maw so much early value in that pit fight.
Yeah, and even more gold in the pocket of Kog'Maw. Going to see a kill go over now as well. Really well done. It just seemed like CBZ were a little bit late on the draw there. I like what they were going for. Of course, did pick up some kills in return. But at that point, the objective had already gone over. So not sure how worth it is, especially with that kill going over to Kog'Maw.
Dragonus. He's popped the Ghost, and the Ignite, and the last axe will find it under turret. Oh my goodness. Hyper aggro Olaf picks up another one.
This Olaf is scary, dude. I'm telling you, playing against it is not fun. Even as a tank Ornn, still is a bit of a struggle in lane. Sonley getting caught.
Yeah, speaking of not fun, that's a support who missed their only option to escape a bad situation with that Spider-Man hook. Maybe it's Drakenus who could get punished on the cross map, though. Dancing and trying to dart away from the Lilia skill shots. Even finds the shield to stay alive a little bit longer. That watch out Eep not going to connect, but in the end, the Q does to pick it up for Vulgai. But it still does feel like RPG has nothing to really shudder about in this game.
It doesn't really matter how many slows and axes you have to run away from Lilia there. She's just going to keep going. Hyper gets 2 tower shots there. Pretty aggressive. They're still looking for this fight, though.
Finds the laser, finds the Chaos Storm, finds the Gravity Well to pick up another one. Raska trying to respond with the ult of their own, but the bailout, can it find something? No! Smitty does manage to live on through, so it's a nice return from CBZ. They pick up 2 for nothing right there, as now Boss is forced to run away from Sombly, who does find the max distance drag line. Now the Wild Growth coming out just for the self-peel, but Vulgai picked up that swirling seed slow, and another hook coming through. That's going to lock up the kill, you have to feel, but no, the shielding coming through, the nice flash through the fat angle for Boss, going to pick up another avenue of escape. Some nice play, but a lot of resources burned.
Yeah. Triple B going for something here. Drag
Oh, he hits it again! Are you kidding me, dude? That's just a great play coming through from Sombly, refusing to give up on that one until that little Yordle was dead.
Yeah, both teams playing the map really well right now, of course. Have seen the neutral objective advantage going over to RPG, looking for a Mountain Soul Point with this next drag here in about 2 minutes. Olaf winning the top matchup pretty handily thus far, though.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's been a bit of a tale of trying to do the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And I don't know if you know what that describes, Kev, but that describes the definition of an insanity as Triple B keeps trying to farm the wave like it belongs to him, but it doesn't. It's just flash burnt on cooldown as Raska makes another visit up top.
Vulgai not going to look for anything here. It does pop the Predator. They're going to have the mid laner roam up here as well. Just make sure Triple B can get that one in.
Yeah, it's a bit of a sad state for CBZ. They are up about 1,500 gold here, but it takes 3 members just to make sure a wave crashes, for Christ's sakes, up there in that top lane. Really goes to show that they're not putting out the amount of pressure you might expect, given the fact that they have a bit of a gold advantage, and it's mostly because they know of the teamfight potency that RPG can output at any time. They're scared of that Olaf up on the top side, and it's just not a lot of confident play coming through from CBZ at the moment.
Yeah, I really think I would like to see Sondley especially get off maybe some roams towards this Lulu here. Of course, going to see Vulgai just keep farming the jungle. This drag is getting close to coming up. I don't know if we're going to see top laners contest this, though.
Yeah, it's almost first turret about to be picked up there for CBZ if Fiora is left unattended to whack away at that tier 1, so it might just be Olaf committed up towards that top side. I personally think if you're RPG, you can afford to trade a tier 1 turret to have the numbers advantage at your Soul Point Dragon, but I also think they have the capability to win anyway with double enchanters, a hyper carry, and a nice little Diana sitting on Proto Belt stopwatch here, so we'll just have to keep our breath held while we wait to see how this does play out.
Yeah, we're really looking at this Kog'Maw, if they can output the damage that is necessary, of course. You're going to have a lot of big teamfight ults. Ragnarok going to come out.
Yeah, Drakenus chasing down Triple B, and again finding lots of damage. Not going to press their luck, going under turret, stopping to hit the pink is the side of RPG, as no, the Dragon Leash does break there, it does reset. That's a bit of a tragedy for RPG, who had a nice pressured position. Is now Raska into the midst of everybody going to find the Moonfall, but will be forced into the stopwatch in the sleep and will be Wild Growth actually and not taken out, as well as the bailout. So many tools to keep them alive, but now the health bar taken away, but that takedown actually found the reset, so it gives the time for X to continue to free hit, as the Mountain Drake does as well. Hyper trying to get these passive procs down to find the enhanced damage onto Emperor. It's Vulgai versus Hyper versus the Mountain Drake, going to dodge out on the Swirl Seed as Vulgai trying to finish off this neutral objective, but Hyper is not scared, but takes the errant shot there from the Drake, and now only has the bailout to try and find the kill in a 2-level disadvantage. It's not going to happen, but Drakenus does find one in return on the top side.
RPG was almost, RPGX was almost giving a chance to absolutely carry that team fight. Did get the shutdown and some gold in their pocket, almost towards what looks like it's going to be an Immortal Shield Bow coming out next.
Yeah, it's critically, though, the Mountain Drake there in that fight going on over to CBZ. They've stopped the stacking for now. Those bonus resists really going to be appreciated by Sonley, and what they'll really appreciate is if they can punish out Drakenus here for maybe a bit of a greedy overextension, but it won't happen.
Yeah, I think Sonley accidentally hit one of the small Krugs with the Q there. Gotta hate when that happens, of course. They're a little bit errant in their pathing sometimes, deciding who they want to attack. So it can cause a little bit of an issue, but both teams, it looks like, just going to reset and wait for this next neutral objective. CBZ, though, very importantly, preventing that soul point.
Yeah, definitely so. And I ask you a very important question, Kev. Who would win a hooking support with one of the... Well, actually, I can't speak on that as Boss has to flash out, but who would win a hooking support with one of the fattest, most unfair hitboxes in the game, or one stony, cruggy boy as Booty Bangin' Billy? Once again, you cannot exist on the other side of the lane, buddy. You have to stay behind the river. They're just going to keep doing it to you as they pick up another one on him.
Yeah. It looks like in this case it is going to be the Krug that wins out on this one. X left alone, of course, going to see a big combo coming in. Apparently it beats a bug too, or whatever Kog'Maw is down there in the bottom lane.
Yeah, a moth maybe?
I'm not entirely sure on the lore there. I do know
a thingamajig.
The Nautilus Q hitbox is very balanced, and I too have taken advantage of it. Of course, like we saw, going to continue feeding that Olaf in the top lane. What's the win condition for each teams here? What are you feeling?
You know, with RPG, I feel like it's a little something called time. I think it's a little bit inevitable that eventually RPG are just going to be finding the teamfight victories when you consider all of the wombo power they have and essentially an infinite scaling carry with his most favored support down there in the bot lane being X and Hyper. What about you? How do you feel CBZ do take down this game in the end if they do manage to do so, as they have a nice little gold lead for themselves?
Yeah, I mean, they are still sitting on that gold lead, and I think it's exactly what we just saw there, waiting for someone to get out on a side lane, get a pick that will allow you to set up these neutral objectives a lot better. They do also have that split push Fiora potential, but of course, Olaf does have pretty decent wave clear and a lot of healing, so should be able to hopefully answer that Fiora on the side lanes. But, like you said, I think it is really important for Red Panda Gaming to really just continue doing what they've been doing all game and just feeding this Kog'Maw.
Yeah, as long as they can continue to exist without giving up too much, finding traded advantages in the meanwhile where they can, like they did on that last Dragon team fight while Olaf was cross-map taking a kill and taking a turret. I think they are in a fine state. Maybe Booty Bangin' Billy can create enough side lane pressure to keep Olaf out of the fights and keep finding them, skewed number advantage wins. We will have to see in just a minute as the next Mountain Drake comes up if that can be the case again. Very interested to see how Drakenus does use this Rift Herald in the interim.
Yeah, I think most likely we're just going to see them wait until this drag does come up and then maybe drop it mid. At the very least, can get a trade. Of course, Drakenus now on this bot side might just decide to use it for their own benefit. But like you said, this dragon is coming up, and we need to see these teams rotate towards it. Of course, Lulu looks like they stopped their recall. Of course, if you leave Fiora on the top side, we are going to see that one go over to her.
Yeah, and it's like we talked about at the last Drake spawn, right? I think it's worth trading a tier 1 turret at this stage in the game to get over to what could be your potential soul point Drake. What's really big is that Smitty was forced to blow Flash for Drakenus' Ghost cooldown trade there in the bot lane. So lots of capability to pounce on Smitty, who's not with a stopwatch at this moment in time just yet. Doesn't have his Zonians complete, so could be a big target in this fight coming up.
Yeah, also, though, it looks like we are going to see both these teams rotate towards this one. Fiora even going to come. Instead of split pushing here, it looks like CBZ do have the initial priority on this drag and a little bit better of a vision setup.
Yeah, staying clumped and moving as a group are the side of RPG. Good to bounce out on that swirling seed, but now it's the multi-man Q into the multi-man sleep. There's the bullet time wombo, but it doesn't really connect with all too much, as there goes the hostile takeover, forcing the Berserk. It was a great stopwatch from Rosca to buy so much time. They sat around trying to kill him, but now X going into the Wild Growth, but doesn't get the bailout, so it's Drakenus and Hyper against the world, and they will be wiped off the face of the Rift, as maybe Drakenus can get it back. No, cannot find the reset, cannot find the kill there, as Hyper forced to blow another sum, and the second Mountain Drake for CBZ should be easy pickings.
Yeah, it looks like it's not even going to be over here, Booty Bang and Billy. Oh, bailout timer not going to mean enough, but like you said, just not enough time really for RPGX there on the Kog'Maw and Volgai with that flash Q. That was kind of insane setup for their Wombo combo.
Yeah, and critically, in that team fight, the bailout not used for X on that Kog'Maw sort of spells a bit of a failure state for the side of RPG. We look at their tools and we say, well, they have a very strong team fight, but if they're not executing on it, CBZ's team fight is nothing to be trifled with. The multi-man sleep, the bullet time, the chaos storm, the zone control that CBZ has is adequate if you're not executing at a high level as RPG. And now it's starting to get the point with 2 Mountain Drakes built up for CBZ. I'm starting to feel an angle for them to really close this one out, Kev.
Yeah, I mean, like I said at the beginning, bailout not used properly just kind of means you lose the team fight there. Of course, it's really easy to follow up from MF on any CC. It looks like Hyper's going to get caught out again here, though.
Yeah, that's a sad situation we've seen many a times, even at the highest level of play. We call that a Vulcan. Supports need to go out into the darkness to secure some vision for the team, right? They have to be the ones to put life and limit line to get that vision. And now with that pick out, it might even result in CBZ picking up a Baron. Drakenus trying to answer something on the side lane, though. Already picked up a tier 1. Boss in the wrong place at the wrong time, trying to scout out that Baron as well. I don't know why they started moving back, maybe thinking their death was assured anyway, wanting some sort of Wild Growth knock-up. But Drakenus not going to answer anymore. Now it's Rosca, cue the Benny Hill music, running around that Baron pit, maybe trying to get in for a steal. Oh boy.
They can just turn on to X here, though. Oh, as soon as you see that ultimate come out, it is going to just be curtains. Rosca maybe going to look for something here still. Maybe have dissuaded that Baron, like you said. But really, I think kind of bad macro coming out from Red Panda Gaming here.
Yeah, definitely so. Once your support gives their life, that's it. You really can't afford to commit more resources into an already lost play. Drakenus couldn't find the cross map. At that point, you sort of have to stop contesting because you're just bleeding over more resources. Dying on the Kog'Maw there for X really going to hurt when you could be on the map, at least answering some waves, trying to continue hitting your scaling fantasy. So CBZ sizably up now, 5K. It could get real hairy for Red Panda Gaming moving forward.
Yeah, and a little bit interesting build path here for RPGX. Actually going to build 2 items before even going towards that Mythic, I'd imagine. Are going to see that traditional, it looks like the shield bow that I was talking about before, going to go towards that one. I'm really interested, though, to see whether or not they build rune-ins here.
Yeah, the extra wave clear could certainly be a blessing when you are the sole wave clear responsibility for your team on that Kog'Maw. Not really any other carry champions outside of Drakenus who's going to be playing on the side lane, right? Won't be there at base to clear the waves, won't be in the midst of the team fights a lot of the time, is trying to answer on the cross maps. So really a lot of responsibility falling onto X's shoulders, and of course the enchanters alongside him to keep him healthy.
Yeah, and a lot of, like you said, a lot of priority being put on RPGX coming in as a sub for this team. It is going to be not the traditional player there. And of course, you know, it's hard to carry even with both of these enchanter supports coming in. Of course, going to continue to see this priority on this dragon for both teams, and really has been CBZ telling the story of vision on this bot side.
Yeah, with this winning game state they've managed to accrue for themselves. They've just find another pick onto Raid Boss. going to try and get out of there with the wild growth, but put to sleep, lasered up, going to be chopped into a billion pieces as Vulgai continues to move forward. CBZ in such a commanding spot now, 40 seconds to go on their soul point Drake, and it's a 5v4 on the map. Their vision game plan doing them favors once again.
Yeah, absolutely going to have that pick right before drag. I mean, Lulu not going to be able to have that overgrowth even if they do come up, I do believe. And Vision's still playing a very important game. They just cannot walk in.
Yeah, they've ceded so much priority around that bot side. And now, with the Lulu gone, do you have enough tools to keep X hyper-carrying throughout the fight at a level disadvantage of a big margin here to Emperor, who has all of these DPS items as well with the Kraken Slayer, with the Press the Attack rune choice, can carry and tango with the best of the opposing AD carries, but it's a 5v5 on the map again. The poke landing from a long distance for CBZ, but they're just all sort of dancing around the Drake now as it starts to reset. Who's going to pull the first punch? Sondley going to get out that depth charge, going to knock off Drakeness, but there goes the hostile takeover. It finds the Berserk onto multiple members. They could pick out Sondley, but the bullet time's so good in the return. Raska in the backline, though, does find multiple members, but I don't think it's going to be enough as they are just taken out. Hyper and X can't approach as Drakeness left to their lonesome now. Emperor gets away on a sliver of health, but can Hyper and X do anything to win this fight with the bailout onto X? Can they find the reset? Yes, they do. They go back to life. They have the living artillery. They find the triple kill. They find the quad. The Acathian surprise is not going to be enough to take the Drake, but it buys RPG so much time.
Oh my gosh, the bailout comes in so clutch for X. Absolutely popping off on the Kog'Maw here. A little bit of a wasted hostile takeover, but just doesn't matter. This Kog'Maw finally getting that chance to get there, are going to see that Runaan's come out, and it looks like a full build almost for this Kog'Maw, going to output a lot of damage. Of course, going to be able to use that Runaan's to auto-attack both more minions and more champions in team fights.
Yeah, and with the addition of the XP that has been accumulated over the course of that fight, ticking ever closer to that level 16 mark. Not going to get there before Emperor, but once that living artillery hits that last level up point, it will be really, really dangerous to the range X can play from. But now it's Raska just saying, we need to take this Drake now or we're never going to get it. Vulgai not going to be at the party in time, so that does go over. Soul point for RPG, and just like that, they've re-established their position in this game, but don't overcommit. Boss has been caught out. Just walk away. That's the Lulu taken out. You take that trade every time. RPG in a good spot.
This will possibly need a rotation over to this Baron. Of course, with the Diana still up, it could turn into a 50-50. Emperor and Triple B, though, playing very aggressive here.
Yeah, they just were not afraid to move as a stacked group. They knew they had the numbers advantage no matter what with the Lulu off the map, so they pick up the support, and now it's a 3v5. It becomes so hard for the side of RPG to approach this pit and get this 50-50. I mean, the Baron ticking down so low already. The bullet time, absolutely amazing. Takes out the jungler. Now it's Dragonus next, just left to be the last of it. But a little bit of damage return from X is not going to be enough. The Acathian surprise, not going to find the steal either. It was dang close. But it's CBZ finding almost the full team wipe, a delayed ace, and a Baron Nasher.
Yeah, I think it might have just been better there for CBZ, or sorry, for Red Panda Gaming to just try and maybe push out some of these side waves. That is going to immediately mean that Victor will take a tower on that top side. Another tier 2 going to go down. Of course, Fiora can't take towers just so quickly. And now you're going to lose this inhibitor tower as well because you don't have wave clear.
Yeah, it's it's sort of starting to feel like CBZ might have just broken the back of Red Panda Gaming. It was one step forward, two steps back, as they lose two members on the map and then try to commit into a dragon, or rather a Baron fight for which they have no advanced vision set up. Only three members, not really ever going to win that. You have to pull back at that point and say, we have the Kog'Maw for wave clear. If we all just stay alive on the map, we can turtle through this Baron siege, but instead now they lose at least one inhibitor, and they cede all vision priority over both halves of their jungle.
Yeah, and CBZ with a 10k gold lead, but still feels like they're kind of struggling in these team fights. Rosaka going to be very aggressive there. Olaf going to be tasked, with catching the mid wave, but of course, what can you really do for the side of Red Panda?
Yeah, not much as they just watch their turrets crumble in front of their eyes. You know, RPG had left themselves in a decent position. I wouldn't go so far as to say CBZ was struggling with the team fights, but they had plenty of options in the 5v5s at least, but now it doesn't even feel like CBZ needs a pick to set up these big wins. They're just knocking down turrets left and right. Does Drakeness still find this 1v1 victory in the late game? Booty Bang and Billy hitting these vitals, finding so much damage. Drakeness just absolutely eliminated under their own turret. You don't win that one no more. Booty Bang and Billy has suffered too long to continue to be stamped under the heel of this Viking, as now every last structure on the map will collapse in front of Red Panda Gaming. Their base is being torn asunder.
And you really do need a hero play from RPG here. Waiting to see if we maybe get a Moonfall engage. Bullet time, only could chunk him out. And that probably just means it's it.
Yeah, that's the Drowsy coming through. That's X taking out the Moonfall a little bit too late, you have to feel. They are finding some damage into the back line, but now it's Hyper all by themselves, and that will be it. It is CBZ taking game 1 here in VAS Week 4 against Red Panda Gaming, and man, did it explode around those late objective fights.
Yeah, very fun draft really coming in from Red Panda Gaming, but their traditional comp, there's a reason it's traditional. And that's because it works. You know, you land one hook with Nautilus right before a drag, you get a kill, the 4v5 drag, it's way easier to win a team fight.
Yeah, and I gotta give big ups to Vulguy on the Lilia as well, coming in as a substitute against their former team. Really performing, tried to make some early ganks work, and they didn't really go the way that I think they probably wanted them to. CBZ maybe feeling like they were on a clock around that bot side. The Misfortune Nautilus not necessarily scaling anywhere near as well as a hyper carry and a enchanter, as we do see the stats come on over. They are a little bit messed up, I am hearing from production, but you do get a general idea of what did occur in terms of the KDAs and the items at least. But yeah, it was a nice look coming through from CBZ to pick up a win against a red-hot Red Panda Gaming. We will see if they have a response as our teams get corrected now in game number 2. But that will, of course, be on the other side of a very short break. So go hit the bathroom, get your snacks, get ready for even more exciting League of Legends action here on the VAS. We'll see you shortly. Here we are, everyone, on into Draft 4 game number 2. It was CBZ, of course, going up 1-0 in game number 1 over the side of Red Panda as the bands start right away here, Kev. I'm excited to see what the adjustments will be. We saw some big ideas from Red Panda, not really executed on game number 1. Excited to see where they go here in game number 2.
Yeah, and they still don't like me. They still ban my boy, my poor Iron Golem. What are you doing to my mans? But of course, are going to see the Lilia band come out. Not at all surprised to see that one banned out after Volkai kind of took, especially that 4-man sleep that almost won that. That was just a crazy game, to be honest with you. I'd love to see another crazy double enchanter LS style draft come out from Red Panda, but of course, gotta do what you think is going to win the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gotta force that game 3.
Definitely so, as Red Panda at least has some real estate to work with. Excuse me, in terms of the standings, in terms of their, standing capital, so to speak. They are 3-0, have yet to drop a game before last game against CBZ, so they can afford to lose a series, but I'm sure they'd rather not. As we see the Nautilus taken off the board as well, they don't want any hooking supports. They say it doesn't matter that it didn't really pop off in lane. Those mid-game picks is what really did us in. The hook just gives too much capability to lock down our enchanters. And other than that, CBZ taking off the big meta things, but with no Jinx taken away in the first rotation, that's an easy first pickup there for CBZ.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm kind of surprised they even decided to ban the Nautilus. Haven't seen priority on that, or really any success on that at MSI. Sonley hit more walls, I think I saw that game, than Champions. Of course, did have some really spicy hooks, but that's just...
There were some great hooks in there, Kev. Like
there were some great ones.
The quality of the hooks that found Champions was more important than the quantity of hooks that found walls, as we do see the response to the Jinx is the Ezreal and Maokai locked in. 12-10, baby. Maokai's a champion again. Let's go.
So, interestingly enough, though, this is actually probably a Maokai support. Hyper, as I have on my sheet here, that I accidentally set down. His top picks are Maokai, Taric, and Bard are their most played champions.
That's a support player right there.
That is a support player. Going to see a Soraka come out, though. Okay.
We are in uncharted waters, Kev. This is a whole new game.
What is 12-10? Yeah, like... I mean, the prep helped me with Maokai, but, other than that, where are we even at? Going to see this last pick. I'd imagine a jungler is going to come out here.
This would be exciting. Talia has been so strong since the rework as a mid-jungle flex. CB doing a lot of what RPG did last time around, which is adding obfuscation in the first phase. Technically, Soraka and Talia both flexes still on the board for them. We'll see what RPG's response here is. Maybe they save both solo lanes for the second phase again this time. We'll just have to see.
Yeah, I wouldn't at all be surprised to see RPG go with that, but it is going to be a Seraphine locked in, so they are going to continue flexing. That could be Seraphine's support. I do believe have seen that one come out. And it was actually, it was actually going to be Smitty that I believe played that in one of their earlier games. I know one of these teams played it. My notes are a little confusing and muddled with all these subs we have going on, but going to continue to see bans coming out here. Red Panda going to take that full time to decide. It looks like it will just be junglers getting banned out.
Yeah, Viego and Olaf, your AD fighter extraordinaires, taken off the board. Maybe they'll flourish a little bit too much in this longer, more extended team fighting metagame. As the Olaf in particular, in a game that didn't really go to Red Panda's plan, was one sort of shining beacon where they said, we're going to pick this to roll top early, and roll top early it did. Granted, it got a lot of attention, but it did its job admirably, and CB don't want to see that one again. They want to set Triple B up for something a little bit less painful in that top lane, if there is such a thing.
Yeah, I mean, we said it at the beginning, that Olaf matchup in lane is so annoying to play against. If you're a bad top laner like me, it means you get proxied at level 5. If it's a good top laner like Drakeness, it's, if it's a good top laner like Triple B here, it still isn't fun.
No,
It's
no,
just
it's
not.
not. Especially when Diana's there every 2 minutes. Hey, you want a crescent? Hey, you want a moonfall? Come here, I got it all for you. But we do see the Jarvan is going to be the response for RPG, so they're sort of picking less of an LS all Enchanter style comp like last time. Do still have the Enchanter for themselves, but a lot more traditional Bronze Zodia. Let's all press our R buttons at the same time, sort of wombo comp. Lots of CC, lots of damage for them right now.
Speaking of just press R, Orin's here again. Going to see 100% pick ban this game. I'm honestly shocked it made it that far. Even to get picked is kind of surprising with the new patch and the fact that both of these top laners have played Ornn already. Going to see a Xin Zhao come in though, which means it probably will be this Taliyah mid lane. Red Panda looking to see what they round this comp out with.
Yeah, this could be a little bit more of a drain tanky type Xin Zhao. Might be a little bit more enabled by longer team fights here. It could also be just more of that traditional counter pick. I'm gonna put out my circle of protection and not have to worry about true shot barrages or encores coming through from Seraphine. But that's a spicy hover and it's a spicy lock in for Hyper there. It's gonna be the Yone coming on through. That just adds another element to Let's All Press R at once. Kev.
Yeah, I mean, the Broken Blade special? Is that what we're going to see here? That Yone top, possibly?
True, I didn't even think about lane assignments.
I think that if I were to take a guess here, I'd say it's going to be Yone top and a Seraphine mid, and it's going to be that Maokai support.
I mean, we should know in just a second if the teams will be kind enough to us this time around to pick up the pace a little bit in the client draft phase so we can unravel those flexes for everybody watching at home. I know we all want to get into some league action for sure, but definitely some more of those interesting strategic twists and turns once again here coming through in the draft phase. Even for CBZ, some flex possibility, although it's most likely going to be what you would expect it to be. I do question, though, as you bring up, if it's Yone top, doesn't Ornn just kind of build Warden's Mail, never worry again?
I mean, that is kind of true, but it's Ornn. It doesn't matter what you take into top lane, he's just going to build it in lane.
Yeah,
of course,
this is true.
I do think that the late game is really there for CBZ, much like you said of Red Panda last time. They have that Jinx that can carry in the later stage of the game. Dunk into anything on the side of Red Panda, though, is kind of an insane wombo. So definitely excited to see if they can pull off some of those fights that they weren't able to get there. And it is, as I predicted, spicy one. Prep work paying off a big Maokai support, and honestly, I think that's probably pretty good into the Soraka.
Yeah, you want to typically, as we saw it last time around, if the enemy is going to be playing Enchanters, play hard engaged champions to punish them in lane, or to find those mid-game picks, which is what more of the Nautilus did last time around for CBZ. So sort of a reversal of roles coming through from both these teams here, as it will be Hyper's turn to play the engaged champion, and it could even be some spicy 15 saplings in a brush and explode your whole health bar with Imperial Mandate build too. We'll just have to wait and see how it does unravel. Real quickly, Kev, before we go into Game 2, is CBZ going to pull off the upset 2-0, or is Red Panda Gaming taking us to Game 3?
I really think that the team fight comp from Red Panda is easier to execute. Like I said, you land Dunk into literally anything. I mean, True Shot Barrage is just going to do damage, but any of the other alts from Red Panda is CC, which means if you get dunked, you are going to probably just die. So I definitely like their draft coming in more. I'd have to give it to them, but I also wouldn't be unhappy with my boy Ornn picking up a win.
Yeah, definitely so. I would have to fall into agreement that ease of execution, usually the way to go. I mean, lots of angles for CBZ. Like we said last time around, right? They have the tools. It's just about will they execute. They executed better last time. We'll see if they can do it again in game number 2 on the other side of a short break. Stay with us. We'll return soon.
Oh, oh,
I mean, not that you folks at home should ever complain about seeing me and Kev's beautiful faces, but we are on to the right scene now here. We are on to the Rift for game number 2 of CBZ versus Red Panda, as Raska already going to find a little bit of Demacian standard poke onto Vulgai. These teams are ready and raring to go. They're chomping at the bit to get at each other, Kev.
yeah. And of course, you know, as an Ornn aficionado, you have to dance every game. It's a requirement. You must dance in front of your enemy. Of course, going to see how this one does go. I'd imagine that Yone is going to be kind of annoying, but of course, you know, Ornn hit 14. Okay, I get to do nothing now, but at least my friends are a little bit stronger.
Yeah, you know, the Ornn, to quote the great philosopher Hank Hill, that Ornn ain't right. And I don't think it's right that Ornn can burst you in lane, CC you from a million miles away with 2 different abilities, live through everything, make his teammates stronger. I've made my feelings on Ornn quite clear on the VAS these past couple of weeks. It is a busted champion, and I would not be surprised at all to see Booty Bang and Billy use it to completely reverse their fortunes from last game this time around and become the bully on the Drakenus. But we will just have to see, as you say, as things unfold. It's Smitty who takes the bad end of a trade with Boss there in the mid lane to start things off. And we have the junglers working their way up the same direction of the map, but it's going to be Raska on the Jarvan being a bit more thorough in taking out these camps.
Yeah, of course, it is a little bit easier, I think, for most junglers to clear the blue side of their jungle first. So going to, like you said, be a little more thorough, get to that level 3. But of course, going to see, it looks like it read directly into Gromp coming out for Vulgai here. Of course, I wouldn't imagine we see too much going on from these junglers until we get to those level 4 or 5s. But of course, like you said, Ornn kind of just gets to do what he wants in lane. If you start losing, you just hide under your tower, farm with Q. Easy champ. That's why I play it.
Yeah, it's, for all the tools it has, it's not particularly hard to execute on, but I want to call our attention, as much as it might pain us, away from that giant, glorious ram in the top lane, towards an astronaut tree in the bot lane. Although Drakenus and Raska don't want me to do that, they want the attention to be on Triple B all the time, as they are picking up right where they left off and bullying this guy, going to chunk him out good and force a reset into a TP.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only option is to talk about Ornn as...
Yeah, there's the return gank, though. At the very least, Vulgai going to find that Wind Becomes Lightning into Boss, but no further follow-up. It is going to be a flash burnt for a flash, as it looks like Triple B did actually elect to stay, now going to get chunked out quite significantly from Drakenus, who has that nice little Z ultimate as a basic ability. I love that Soul Unbound. It's so balanced.
Yeah, Yone is, of course, a very fun champ to play against in any lane. Doesn't matter whether it's a winning matchup or not. Of course, can just jump from 3 screens away and auto you twice and then jump back to wherever he left from. So going to get that push in. It looks like we are seeing these junglers kind of hover a little bit more around mid lane this game. I would not be surprised to see continued aggression from Vulgai onto this Seraphine that is going to be pretty squishy.
Yeah, definitely. So, but to refocus on the Tree Man, the big ent that everybody knows and loves down the bot lane, it's Hyper on this Maokai. It's a first strike build coming out, which leans more towards something we identified in Champ Select, which is Cheese Sapling Max build.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see it. It's a spicy pick regardless of whether it does go that direction or not. I, of course, went through a phase of my support meta where I was really interested in finding all these fun, cheesy picks. Raska, though, just going to continue to hover Triple B on that top side.
I mean, at this point, I commend Triple B for playing a very admirable weak side. Didn't blow a summoner spell in either of the hairy exchanges they found themselves in the early goings here before 5 minutes. So still has that flash if they want to keep committing resources towards that top side do RPG. As now it's going to be Raska maybe pinched in the enemy jungle. Doesn't have a blast going to have to take that flag and drag. Wulgai trying to body block it a little bit, but there's not really much you can do. That's a great knock up onto 2 from Triple B to secure the first blood, and Smitty's here as well to continue the chase down. Drachna's going to get out of dodge, but a great punish coming through from CBZ.
Yeah, really unfortunate timing there for Drachnas. Jumps over the wall, tries to go for it, and then just gets knocked up by Ornn, picking up that first kill. Our big all-arounder here. You'd love to see it. Of course, the trades are so easy. You land your abilities and you just win.
Yeah. Although, to be fair, in League of Legends, that's almost like Korean advice, right? If you want to win trades, hit your abilities. It's like a self-fulfilling maxim there. So, credits to BBB. That's half the battle, landing your abilities. And if that just means you beat everybody in lane, you know what? Fair enough. I'm glad there's a tank that actually does something. As it's going to be Wulgai down here around the bot side, but Drachnas just doesn't want to give up the scrap. At this point, RPG may be starting to feel a little bit backs against the wall. Probably came in with better expectations for this series, and now they've given up first blood in Game 2 after losing Game 1.
Yeah, of course, like we said, though, are hosting a 2-sub lineup here tonight. Of course, one of their subs is the person who kind of popped off in the last game, RPGX, coming in last moment for their team. Another trade going to come through.
Yeah, Triple B with that Warden's Mail, really capable of shrugging off so much of what Drachnas can do, and now forced to use that last breath there on the Yone to get on out of the path of the Ram. That's a very advantageous trade for Booty Bang and Billy, as Drachnas starting to feel a taste of their own medicine.
Yeah, and that's the power of Ornn. You lose, you just hide under tower. You know, like Teddy once said, just CS and don't die. You know, that's the way you win games in League of Legends, of course. Raska, I'd imagine, still going to be up there, though. Pretty annoying, and of course, Yone can't always do damage later on in these team fights. Waiting to see how those ults do end up landing for the side of Red Panda Gaming.
Yeah, it's going to be all about the ease of execution. That's a little bit of a wisdom nugget that we managed to drop for y'all in the Champ Select so many times in VAS, this Gold Plat Elo League. It's all about what's easier to do for these players, right? It's not LCS. It's more about, is there a clear win condition that almost plays itself? And you can't deny that RPG have that in spades. You lock somebody up in the J4 Cataclysm, and then you rain hell on them with the rest of your ultimates all at once. It's rinse, wash, repeat. As speaking of using up ultimates, here comes Raska with the 6. It's going to be the knock-up onto Triple B, finally forcing that flash out of sums up there in the top lane.
Yeah. Flash finally forced, like you said. Still kind of a win, but at the same time, are you going to try and dive in Ornn?
I wouldn't. I certainly would not try to dive the Ornn there. So they're going to actually go after Wulgai in their own jungle instead, but Drachnas kind of realizes once you don't get that red, it's a fool's errand, and now Smitty with the Weaver's Wall. It's actually a great ultimate coming on through from Drachnas to try and find some extra damage, but it's just not enough. Maybe should have taken the opportunity to run for the reinforcements that was Boss coming up through the lane, instead of trying to extend that fight, because it is your life that gets paid for it in the end.
Yeah, and this really is starting to look like it is turning in CBZ's favor. Winning all of these early exchanges, the gold lead isn't too significant, but of course, we could see that change very quickly as we might get some fights over these neutral objectives here.
Yeah, already picking up that first Wind Drake for themselves is CBZ. As you do point out, the gold lead not massive, but it is something, and you're getting no pressure out of Drakenus on this top side, despite all the resources you poured in, all the repeated ganks. It is Ornn who has pulled ahead, and anytime you ratchet forward the clock on that Ornn scaling, it's not good. You don't want to give him a free lane, because now Raska trying to find something, but Smitty still having the summoner available just sort of laps all the way to the bank.
Yep. And looks like we're just going to go back into the same kind of, not quite lull state, but not quite aggressive state from either of these teams. Just going to continue farming, waiting to see if we get neutral objectives. It does look like Raska might pick up this first Herald, though.
Yeah, going to start at the very least. I do like that you point out that it's not necessarily a low state, because these teams are trying to be aggressive, but they're just not really being very successful at it, as I think Boss probably was okay there. Does opt to use the Encore just to be safe. That's a big cooldown wasted, as now the collapse coming through the Herald. Raska did not do very much damage to that Herald at all. It's still half health, could interfere in this battle greatly, but it doesn't look like CBZ really want to commit just yet. Now Vulgai moving forward with the backup of the Call of the Forge God. The Cataclysm coming out, but Raska just sort of trapped themselves. The Smite coming through onto the Rift Herald to find the health back, and the Sirocco from downtown coming out from Sanli, going to back up the team even more. As can they extend this into a second kill? Can they parlay it? The Seismic Shove going to land true, but Boss able to sidestep out of those stones. In the end, though, a big win for CBZ.
Yeah. Ornn kind of just shows up and ults. You know, it's really hard to win these team fights just because you don't quite have that burst that you need from the side of Red Panda Gaming at this point.
Yeah, and Drakenus, speaking of burst, is getting bursted himself. That is not an experience you want on the own, as that shield might do something for you, but if you're not going to connect on the knockup, you might just get chased down and burned up by the Sunfire Aegis, by the Bellows Breath, by the many sources of red-hot flame that this Forge God does wield. That's another one up there for Booty Bangin' Billy. Will the return price be the Drake on the other side? Looks like it will indeed go over to RPG.
And this is just really good play from Booty Bangin' Billy on that top side. There's not really anywhere else on the map that has been able to get too much proactivity going for their lanes, try to get that snowball ahead. And of course, you just have this Jinx down here that we haven't really talked about, just farming up a storm.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a great point, right? We've been so focused on the action on the top side. It's a 107 CS Jinx at 12 minutes here. Not perfect CS, but very, very good CS. Emperor definitely going to be arriving right on time to do big damage in these team fights. Probably more than X will be able to output themselves, right? Not on the hyper carry themselves this time like the Kog'Maw, on more of the poke style AD carry with the Ezreal. As this game goes later and CBZ continues to accrue advantages, it might be hard to see where RPG actually gets damage, but at least they get something back onto Smitty there.
Yeah, and that was a very good execution on the CC there. Going to have the Charm, go into the Cataclysm, go into that route from the Seraphine. Of course, got to be very careful on Seraphine how you manage that, I believe it's Encore passive. So going to be just really important how you manage that passive, make sure that you can actually land the follow-up route there.
Yeah, definitely. So, as CBZ now, just sort of continuing happily, waiting for that mountain of scaling to continue erupting forward from the ground. They do have Ornn now at level 10. The countdown to level 14 is ticking ever closer. Going to be able to augment all of their buddies with those ornaments. And things just sort of holding at a very predictable pattern as Drakenus, you're trying to threaten something that you just don't have there, taking that Soul Unbound forward. Triple B has nothing to be afraid of right now.
Yeah, I mean, Ornn's already got the Warden's Mail and the Sunfire going. Just gonna sit there and really just wait till level 14. That's all you really do on Ornn. Hope you don't die in lane. Wait till 14.
Yeah, it's starting to feel like a big old L coming through for RPG as we see some of the items coming on through. I mean, Triple B just easily matching the trades of Draconus there, not really losing a step whatsoever. But we look at these items coming through, and it's almost even a loss to Shopkeeper. We're seeing Leandri's Torment, Seraphine, this perhaps very greedy one-shot sapling build coming through from Hyper with First Strike. It just doesn't feel like they're going to have the tools that they had last time around to sit back and not win out on this early game and still be able to find any hopes late, especially with these build choices.
Yeah, and you're really, at this point, relying on that CC combo from the Cataclysm and just any follow-up. Of course, you're going to have this dragon in 2 minutes, and that's where we're probably going to see these teams fight. But if Ornn does get that Ornhorn off without any contest...
Yeah, it was a bit of a force attempt coming through from RPG as Hyper used both summoner spells moving forward, but the angle of those creeping trees not really true. Raska now trying to follow up the True Shot Barrage over the top, very good as well, but Sombly saved the ultimate for just the right time to keep the play going, and now Smitty has arrived with that Reaver's Wall backup, and you're pinched, you're in the wrong place, you're deep in enemy territory, you're going to have to try and find some way out. Raska at least has the Flag and Drag, but Hyper no mana, no flash, nothing doing. At the very least though, the Seraphine finding big damage with the Seismic Shot backwards, going to find Hyper. Now that support has ticked all the way down. No, going to get in, going to find that Grasping Blow to find some lifesteal back, but Vulgai not bothered at all by the Seraphine with that Grand Challenge, proving to create an impenetrable zone of immunity. Going to chase off 2 members here, and they're not done yet. Smitty continuing to move forward. Boss doesn't have the flash either. That's the flash. Wind becomes lightning. The dash in. The Seismic shoved the wrong way, but it won't matter as Smitty picks it up, and CBZ are absolutely dominating across the map now. They're up 7-2.
Yeah, just really well played by the side of CBZ. Every time that Raska goes to make an aggressive play, it seems like Vulgai and sometimes Smitty, but not always, are there to answer. So even when you get that kill going over, you're going to have 1 or 2 returned in the opposite direction.
Yeah, and that was critically right before the Drake is going to spawn here. It will be the Mountain Drake and Mountain Soul for a second game in a row. Very fitting for the type of League of Legends we're seeing played. And CBC not feeling too pressured to contest on this. They'll keep Vulgai around for the potential 50-50 as Draken is trying to zone them off the pit. But Ornn managed to crash a big wave, should get the first turret here up in top lane, or may be able to answer solo back onto the Rift Herald. Really has their choice. Will be a Mountain Drake pickup, but I don't think CBZ's feeling too pressured by it.
Yeah, and, just continuing to slowly build up that lead. Of course, we do have some shutdowns going on to them, so we'll see if Red Panda Gaming can pick that up. But it is very important that they do try to contest these neutral objectives, get their advantage, and try to force CBZ to engage into them in some of these team fights.
Yeah, absolutely. They have at the very least delayed the clock that CBZ put them on by another couple minutes by refusing that soul point, but it's another cash injection as that first turret bonus did go on over. And now we could see the 3v3 around the Herald while the 2v2 rages in the bot lane. It's been started up by CBZ.
Yeah, it looks like they just have priority on this Rift Herald over the other option. Going to see if they can get anything down. They are grouped, so Cataclysm might come through pretty big here.
Yeah, Raska did find the steal, and now the massive encore across multiple members, but it's not going to be any kills for the side of Red Panda Gaming. Instead, it will be the Jarvan giving their life for that play. At the very least, they get something, but if Draconus can't get out, it does feel like a bit too little to really make it worth it. It's going to be the Q used to get out, but the Wind Becomes Lightning does connect. That Soul Unbound isn't going to take you anywhere, buddy. You're snapping right back. Booty Banging Billy's waiting for you to take you out with Smitty. And CBZ are just absolutely dominating right now.
Yeah, like we were just saying, anytime that Red Panda tries to set up for an objective or tries to set up for a dive, it just seems like Vulgai is there with a couple other members. Just turn the fight right around.
Yeah, and it is that drain tanking Xin Zhao that never wants to stop fighting with the Gore Drinker. It was very popular at the beginning of the season, did fall off a little bit after some Xin Zhao nerfs, but primed and ready to flourish once again in this meta as we see Booty Bang and Billy chunking Rosika out. Already hit the level 13, should have that ornament for themselves on the next reset. Very soon ready to dish out the bling bling to the teammates as well. CBZ in a fine position.
To have both these teams just go back to what they were doing. Like we said, it's not really a lull state. They're just going to sit here and do their best to trade, try to farm up, and try to set up for these neutral objectives. Of course, we do have the Baron just now coming up, but I don't imagine that one will be contested for a little while. As we keep going, I don't know quite what happened to Infinite here, but we're going to keep on going. Both teams going to just go about what they were doing.
Yeah, sorry about that. The cough button was maybe used in an incorrect spot there, and muted myself. But we're all good. We're back. Nothing too big going down, because luckily these teams are, like you said, just doing more of the same. And unfortunately, that more of the same isn't really generating anything to be hopeful for as an RPG player or an RPG fan. It's really feeling like this game's starting to slip more and more through their fingers as time goes on. Rosika trying to do something about it. Locks up Emperor in the Cataclysm, but still had the flash, of course, with the Chomper lockup and the TP from behind as well. Now it's Rosika forced to burn resources with this Call of the Forge God coming out as well. The Zap going to slow him up. The Starfall going to find even more damage. He's tanky, so he won't die, but in the end, you still didn't accomplish anything.
And a good use of the Flag and Drag there to avoid the Oran Horn. Of course, if did get hit there, probably was going to die. RPG going, or Hyper going to be positioning aggressively, see if they can get anything done, but it does look like it's just going to be an easy Dragon setup for CBZ.
Yeah, and I mean, look at Emperor nearly on 200 CS alongside RPGX, and it's like, sure, you know, both AD carries are farming really well because it was a passive lane where neither team really forced anything, but that benefits one of these champions way more than the other, especially now with the ornament Gale Force being granted over to Emperor. If production wouldn't mind hovering on that, I wouldn't mind learning what it's called. And it will be a Herald answered on one side as Forgefire Crest, that's the Sunfire. What about the Gale Force coming on through for Jinx? What's that upgrade form called? The Typhoon! That's pretty cool for the side of Emperor down there in the bot lane. Should result in some big things in this team fight as we see the TPs coming through. This Drake about to hit the Rift. They're ready to go. Those Speedlings doing great damage over to Booty Bang and Billy, though. Maybe RPG, along with the side of the Leandry's Burn coming through from Seraphine, actually can win this fight if they find all the poke beforehand.
Yeah, you're really reliant on that poke or the enemy team lining up in the way you need. Going to see the Ornhorn come out.
Yeah, it only finds the Seraphine, and there's still multiple ultimates left to be used. The True Shot Barrage over the Ornn, and that will be a great ult from Zinzao to keep himself longer, a little bit alive from Vulgai, but it will be a 1-for-1 so far. But look at CBZ, they're getting routed a tad bit, forced to retreat. It's going to be Emperor going into the mid lane to try and maybe just CS and gain some mid lane priority. It's actually RPG who find big poke before the fight to secure themselves a victory.
And I just don't think Emperor was quite able to get in there and get the resets they wanted. Going to see Red Panda drag this one out, and it will just be a one fight and a dragon going over to them. One more until that Mountain Soul.
Yeah, that's really, really huge for RPG. I didn't expect them to find that kind of efficacy around that team fight there with how far ahead CBZ was, but now the gold lead only about 1.5k, and they just showcased that if you hit all the poke over the wall by getting to the objective first, it doesn't matter how many tank stats you have with this percent health burn.
And this really should be Red Panda Gaming's strongest point. In this game is going to be this mid-game before that Jinx can really get online. Of course, you are going to have the ornaments coming out, like we said, but of course, you know, Yone and Seraphine and J4 are going to have these really important teamfight ultimates that really need to cut into those team fights.
For sure, for sure. We also see now the second item was picked up after that fight. Maybe a bit of a factor in why Emperor couldn't find the carry potential that they wanted. Now has that rapid fire cannon to poke from even greater distance, make that positioning a little bit easier, not have to get so much in harm's way to get the damage out. We'll see how well they put that to use. The biggest thing for now that I'm looking at for CBZ, though, is to start to knock down some of these turrets, pick up some standing gold.
Yeah, they really do need to force onto these. Of course, the Orin did pick that one up on the top side, but it just got traded back, and we haven't seen any of these other towers go down to either side. It's really important for both these teams, I think, to start knocking those down and opening up their ability to roam on the map a little bit better.
Absolutely so. You take out that mid lane tier 1, unlocks so much capability to get deep vision down, hopefully avert a scenario like you had at that last dragon fight for CBZ where you weren't able to approach cleanly and you just got picked and poked over the wall, and you sort of lost the fight before it even began. As now X going to actually get hit up by a little bit of poke, but the silence going to come through a little bit too late to cancel the hop away there on the arcane shift from X, so no harm, no foul.
And both teams just trying to set up this vision, trying to position, maybe look for a pick. Neither of these supports are really what you want to see to get those picks, so I'm really looking at the Orin to see if they can get a good ultimate that will allow for follow-up.
Yeah, definitely so. It's, it's interesting, Kev. We were talking in the pre-show about how the point of the 12-10 patch was not to create super long, dragged-out games without a lot of action. It was just to make the team fights go longer, as we see Booty Bang and Billy trying to punish Drakeness on the bottom side, but it's just not going to come through. And, it didn't happen in Game 1 that things felt dragged out or grindy. It was a high-action game all the way through, high tempo all the way through, but this time it's just 13 kills at 26 minutes. It's starting to feel a bit like more of that traditional tank meta game that we might have expected from an update like this.
Yeah, I mean, it is a little bit of a longer game. We have honestly had quite a bit of trading, just no one's actually dying. And Booty Bang Billy just gonna sit there and tank tower shots. Does not do anything to Orin. Doesn't matter if you nerf my healing and shielding and, didn't change towers really at all. I'm just gonna continue tanking tower shots.
I mean, that's just the Ornn promise right there. As the Frozen Heart going to be completed, that is so huge for these fights to get into Yone's face, reduce that attack speed, reduce the capability to charge up those Qs to find the multi-man knockups for Drakeness. Should make the team fight angles even better for the side of CBZ, but finally, we will see these teams forced to interact with each other again, Cav, as Mountain Drake is going to hit the rift in just a minute here.
Yeah, and we'll have to wait and see if Red Panda can get this one. It does look like there might be a pick, though, coming in.
Yeah, it was Smitty trying to find the Everfrost root, gets the stones down, the seismic shove as well, but will be caught in the warpath of Drakeness. But now it's Booty Bang and Billy trying to find the 1v2. Is it the tank meta? We'll have to see. No, not when you miss your ultimate like that. The Ram does not connect. The Call of the Forge God does not find a knockup, but the Ornn will themselves. The damage still coming out, zoning Raska all the way back to first this reset. Will there be enough time to get down to the Drake? I think there will be, with Smitty off the map as well. It might just be Mountain Soul for RPG.
Yeah, however, it does look like they might try to trade here. A fight gonna happen anyways.
Yeah, it was a bit of an insect coming out from Bull Guy, and now he dodges out on that Encore as well. Emperor does get hit, but finds the reset off the Super Mega Death Rocket onto one member. Gets excited just in time for this Drake to spawn. Use that enhanced attack speed. Finds the zap onto Boss as well, finding these enhanced range autos as it's 2-on-1. X being zoned out. Can it be Raska to turn the fight? Emperor chunked out quite a bit. Now turning around onto the Drake, but they don't see the fact that there is a stealth ward. The Reaver's Wall, Smitty trying to dissuade any further approach, and I think this should be the Mountain Drake going over to CBZ. Here comes Raska. Can they get to the pit in time? Yes, they can, but they can't find the steal, and now they'll pay for it with their life. You have to feel exhausted in the midst of the Cataclysm. Finally, they do fall, and that is a nice pickup from CBZ to right the ship in this game.
And because they got Raska there, they might be able to rotate here onto this Baron. I'm not sure if they're going to try and contest this one or walking that direction. X going to continue to try and output this damage over the wall.
Yeah, 2.5 items. Once that Cyrilda's Grudge is completed, should be hitting pretty hard as well. It's looking like CBZ at the very least going to try and start this, maybe force a bait. 15 seconds left to go on Raska hitting the Rift once again. Now they realize, no, we don't want to take a full Fracas here. We're going to back off. We're going to consolidate. We'll come back for it when we have a few more members off the map.
Yeah, absolutely. Here, like you said, going to deny that Mountain Soul, but you're still 2 drags off from getting it yourself, so going to be a while till we even have that potential for the Elder Dragon. Here we are, just going to be in another lull state, as I'm not sure what happened.
It's the cough button. It keeps getting me. My apologies. As it's really the flip side. I think in Game 1 we saw all the benefits of what a slower meta can be. It can still be action-packed. It just makes the fights really exciting as you have the chance for carries like Kog'Maw to find those resets and hit for a long time and turn impossible situations, and skill expression for AD carries and all that jazz. And in this game, Cav, it's a little bit more of that downside of a tankier meta. 16 kills at 30 minutes. It's we feel like we're going to be here a little bit while longer.
Yeah, I'd honestly be surprised if this game ends in the next 10 minutes. It looks like we're in for a long banger. Going to see a Tier 2 tower be attacked there. And we're just going to go back into, you know, that lull state. Just waiting for one of these objectives to come up so we can have a team fight. Emperor going to get some good damage down, though.
Well, in true lull state fashion, you know what they talked about in LCK during lull states, right, Kev?
No, what is that?
Pokemon.
Pokemon.
Oh yeah, LS and Papa Smithy and Valdez, they had great conversations about Pokemon when the Korean teams were basically refusing to interact with each other. So I suggest we do the same. Are you a Pokemon fan, Kev?
I am a weirdly only played Diamond and Pearl, but still like Pokemon and Pokemon content. It's actually funny you bring this up. My one of my buddies is trying to get a draft league for Pokemon. There's a group of 6 of us. He's trying to get us to do some VGC type stuff. I'm interested to see how that one does go. But of course, you know, I gotta represent my Gen 4 peeps. I am Piplup forever, my favorite Pokemon. So was very excited to see those remakes come out for Diamond and Pearl.
Yeah, I haven't gotten a chance to play those yet. I gotta say, I was a Chimchar guy myself when I did get those my hands on that Diamond and Pearl. That was actually the first Pokemon game I ever played that was bought for me. Growing up, I had a Game Boy Color that had been my older brother's. I inherited that in some of his games. You know, I bought or traded some games, you know, secondhand from some of my school-age friends and got to play like Gold and Silver. But you know, I never had a game that was for me until Diamond and Pearl. So even though they weren't my first Pokemon games, I still feel a special attachment to them because my parents got me a DS and got me Pokemon Diamond. And it felt like, you know, it was all mine. It was something special as we do maybe finally have some action between some level 17 players here. Pokemon talks might have to come to an end as Raska's showing up as backup as well. Booty Bag and Billy just chunking out Draconus. But it's not going to mean anything, Kev.
Yeah, honestly, you kind of kept talking about Pokemon, but my real question with this game is, why is there no Blitzcrank? I need more Blitzcrank in this game, okay? You know, honestly, it is unsarcastically very sad that it didn't come through here, because I do think it would be very advantageous for either of these teams to have pick potential from an engaged style support here. But, you know, we've talked about Pokemon enough that this dragon is going to be coming up here. It looks like Red Panda Gaming will be the first to come to this center area for the drag, but are being flanked. Raska playing very aggressive.
Triple B did get spotted out by that sweeper there, sitting on the Call of the Forge God. Knows they have to make it count, as when it didn't connect in the past, it was basically the sole source of losing fights for the side of CBZ. Sondly having plenty of heals this time to counteract the poke as well. You have to feel this is CBZ's fight to take, only up about 1.5k, but with all of these ornaments now in tow, they should be so much stronger. Finds the knock-up onto Boss, forces the flash, but Volguy griefed by, oh my goodness, Smitty trapped him on the wrong side of the Reaver's wall, now forced to stopwatch. On the other side is Drakenus, going to find kills in the backline. Look at Boss as well, raining down hell from above. Emperor trying to do what they can, but can't even approach to get damage out. It's a tragedy as RPG pick up so many kills. It's at least a shutdown for Booty Bang and Billy, but that is Mountain Soul picked up for Red Panda Gaming.
Yeah, and you know, they are going to be able to rotate onto this Baron as well. I do want to point out very good play by Drakenus. They are able to really zone Emperor off of that fight, gets onto the back line, and really just denies the Jinx from being able to have that pop-off, you know, that Danny-like performance that we hope to see out of this Jinx.
Yeah, sitting at just 1-0-4 at 35 minutes is not where you want your AD carry to be. Sure, it's 311 CS, it's 3 items, but the Jinx has not really popped off in any meaningful way, and now with the Baron buff and the Mountain Soul, 2 Uber buffs ready to go, it could just be RPG taking us to a swift Game 3. The one thing going for CBZ though here, Kev, still lots of turrets on the map.
And you still have Ornn, which means at any point, if you land a big teamfight ult, you have that reset come onto the Jinx, you can just take over teamfights. But we really, for CBZ, need to see this Jinx get some more items and get online really sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I'm a little bit dismayed to see that Lord Dominic's Regards was not an early pickup for Jinx, even before the Infinity Edge. We are looking at a much tankier meta this time around. That item has so much value. The Serilda's Grudge coming through for Ezreal, going to be providing a little bit of what the LDR would with the Armor Pen. Doesn't have the percent health difference passive like the LDR does, but still the right idea at the very least for Ezreal, and part of the reason I think we haven't seen Jinx be effective in these fights is the lack of capability to just cut through this bulk.
Yeah, and the side of RPG is really tanky with the Maokai. You know, didn't build full tank, but you know, got a little bit going for him just naturally, and of course this Jarvan going to have pretty tanky stats regardless of what they build. I still cannot believe how this, well, top laners now in the bottom lane matchup is going. Ornn still winning out pretty hard against Yone.
Yeah, I've learned not to get baited by these guys hitting. I mean, these guys are just hitting each other for 30 seconds, and look at it, they're both still basically near full. Now, finally, the fighting is getting more intense as we see the chunk outs coming down to CBZ under their turret, but it's still Booty Bang and Billy winning the trades in the 1v1 in the end. I mean, this is absolutely insane right now. It's a bit of a meat-clacking meta. It's just 2 stakes clacking against each other down there, refusing to really be dismissed. And it will be a couple of turrets taken for RPG, but still no death knell even close to being delivered to CBZ quite yet.
Yeah, Booty Bang and Billy looking for something, but as soon as the Ornn comes out, we just have to turn from Maokai.
Yeah, it's a good Soraka ultimate to try and keep the fight going. Emperor trying to free hit, but I don't think it's going to be quite enough. Doesn't have a Runons, doesn't have an LDR. It's just the team being wiped in front of their face. RPG comes back through after a bit of a rough start, but stays patient, stays scaling, and I think they might just be able to take this. The wave is arriving with them. They're all still so healthy right now. Emperor just absolutely accomplishing nothing, and this should just be the end of things.
And, you know, Mountain Soul plus this buff, Mountain Soul might be the new Ocean Soul, you know? You're gonna have just even more tanky stats than you already did. Emperor looking to see if they can do something, but they're just so far behind on items.
Yeah, that's just gonna be it. I mean, Booty Bang and Billy trying to guard that bear Nexus is a, not a fool's errand. A suicide mission, I suppose, is the best way to describe it, but Man, that is sort of. I'm not gonna lie, I had a lot of fun playing the game today. This game made me rethink, Kev, how I feel about this update, because that was a bit of a snoozer.
Yeah, was a little bit of a slow one. Of course, I do like to see all these players being aggressive and playing with their cooldowns and trading, but no one could damage anyone. The person who felt like they were doing the most damage most consistently was Ornn.
Yeah, look at that. Ornn topping the damage charts here as we do get the stats for this game. Tanked the most damage as well. So Booty Bangin' Billy didn't lose for lack of trying. Really tried to put the team on their back and bring it through, but it just didn't result in the W this time around. We'll see which team will be able to secure that W in game number 3 to take home our series. That will, of course, be on the other side of a short break. Let's pray for a game more like game number 1, less like game number 2, right when we return after this. cool transition right on into draft here for game number 3. It will be our decisive game here, Kev, in this Week 4 series between Red Panda Gaming and CBZ as I try to figure out my cable management. And we see a lot of the old faithfuls taken off the board. Oh, what do you got? What do you got on the sheet? Let's see.
Apparently it's more Seraphine coming in for them
lovely.
here. Of course, would not all be surprised to see some more enchanters come through. And yet again, Ornn stays up. They banned the Maokai though.
Yeah.
Which I'm kind of surprised by. Because that does leave the Olaf open for Drakeness.
There's a lot of crazy stuff that could be coming through. CBZ feeling the jinx again this time. Gonna first pick it even. It didn't look amazing in game number 2. It really didn't have the effect you would hope it would. Granted, maybe could have benefited from some different itemization, and maybe they've learned that lesson. Have CB here coming into game number 3. Going to find another response as well here on R2. What are you wanting to see from CB to really change things up from last time around, Kev?
I want one of these teams to draft Thresh, to be honest with you.
Or
Leona. Thresh or Leona for either team I think is huge here. We need to see some engage. We need to see some lockdown because the Ornn and the J4 just weren't cutting it for either team last game. Yes, you can go in or you can throw out an Ornn Horn from 2 screens away, but there just isn't follow-up, and you can't keep them in place. Maybe a Morgana might also be a spicy pick that could come in, give you some CC as well. But it looks like we might have a bit of a salty run back here from game 3. Or from game 2, I'm sorry.
For RPG, it's not really salty. It's more of, well, I mean, heck, if you're not going to challenge us on what worked so well last time around, we'll go for this poke build again. We'll get to the objectives before you guys. We'll poke you off of them, and then we'll take them. I mean, the Ezreal and the Seraphine worked wonders that I could not have even anticipated last time around. It will be the Viego paired up with them as well. Lots of reset potential in these fights.
Yeah. And we're going to go into another pick for CBZ. I'm not really sure what they want to pick here. You could have some support prio. You could have a jungle answer. Of course, anything can come through. Ornn is still up and is still an option for either team. Was obviously, from last game, very strong. But we're going to have the Olaf come through for Booty Bangin' Billy this time.
Yeah, you know, if you can't beat it, take it. It could even be Vulgai, who played a very similar champion in the Xin Zhao in Game 2, playing another AD Bruiser here in the jungle, where we're more accustomed to seeing the Olaf. But now we move into the second phase of bans, and CB do not want to see the Ornn, and I can't blame them. Probably not going to be able to secure that one for themselves if they are putting the Olaf up in the top lane, so best to take it out of the enemy's hands.
Yeah. And, you know, I want to see it just because I think it'll make the game go quicker, but also I think that a, like, Leona would be pretty good with the comp that CB have drafted thus far, especially with the setup with the Ornn. They're going to ban it out instead. I'm not sure what the priority is here. Going to see that Tryndamere followed up.
Yeah, it seems like these teams just love to see you suffer on the support picks. They don't give you your Blitzcrank. They don't give you your Leona. They just want more enchanters all the time coming on through. Wouldn't be surprised to see one of those.
I genuinely think that if I was playing against these teams, they banned out everything I play in support except for Thresh and Morgana, maybe.
Yeah, you never want to get through to your like 4th and 5th picks in a situation like this. You want to feel comfort, but there's Engage for CB, and a pseudo enchanter as well with some healing and buffing capabilities on the Rakan for Sondly. So that's a nice pickup to go with the Jinx. Hopefully secures them some better team fighting, better potential for Emperor to pop off this time.
Yeah, and the Leona ban makes a little more sense here now. If you were planning on drafting Rakan, you do not want to play into Leona because you just go in and immediately get auto-stunned and then ult-stunned and then rooted again. It looks like we're going to have some spicy picks in the top lane too this time instead of that tank matchup. Drakeness probably going to have this Gwen here.
I wouldn't go all the way to saying it's not a tanky matchup. Gwen might be able to get rolled early by Olaf. It's kind of like the Fiora, where you're like, yeah, sure, it has the tools to beat Olaf if the Olaf plays badly and you play well, but I think Olaf gonna really make Gwen not look so good in the early going, could be huge in the team fights, and that's something I did not expect at all. Red Panda basically going big or going home with the Pike as their final lock-in.
Yeah, I think they're with us on this matchup set. I don't want another game to drag out that long, and it looks like it will actually be Vulgai on this Olaf, like you had pointed out earlier.
Excuse me, yeah, as the Fiora, definitely an interesting one into Gwen. I feel like Olaf is so much more of a guaranteed victory in that top lane 1v1 scenario. Definitely a lot of room for Fiora to get outplayed by Gwen. It's much more of a skill matchup, you would think, but it's basically these teams just throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks, right? They're experimenting with the new patch as much as we are. They're giving us a lot of interesting matchups tonight, and they're going to give us another really hopefully explosive 5v5 comp coming here again in game number 3. Will be the decisive game on the night, and we will see how that all does play out on the other side of a brief break. Who's taking it all home tonight? Will it be Red Panda Gaming or CBZ? One more game left to figure that out. We'll return to see it all unfold real soon.
welcome back now on to Summoner's Rift, as I will be joining you as your Game 3 play-by-play. Unfortunately, Infinite has had to step out, but I'm Camcom now, joining you from behind the scenes. I've been here for all 3 games, clicking the buttons, the regular producer here on the VAS. Kevbo still alongside me, color casting as your regular, of course. RPG Cubs are currently 1-1 in this series against CBZ.
Yeah, absolutely banger series. Of course, we can't say last game, a little bit of a snooze fest. I'm definitely excited to see a little bit more engage coming in, especially from the supports here, allowing hopefully for easier team fight setups and those team fights that we're really hoping for with this new patch. We want to see how these players play when they're going to have a little bit more time and hopefully another couple or at least one more reset on their ability cooldowns.
Yeah, hopefully there is a little bit more fighting. Last game, it was mostly just we wait for an objective, and then we go in and we fight, and then we wait another 5 minutes, and then we go in and then we fight, and then we're going to wait another 5 minutes. No, it was a very quiet, very calculated type of game, right, where you have to have these little tiny punishes, and that's how you are eventually able to come back and lead, and it really was a comeback, right? CBC, even they had a pretty massive lead in the early game, and then it was a perfect game for the first like 10 or 15 minutes for them, not dropping a single death, and then all of a sudden RPG out of nowhere coming in, making sure that they are not going to be getting it 2-0 here tonight, dragging us out to a game 3 as the regular is here on the VAS almost every single week now. I said it was a 3-game streak here, Kevbo, but we've had one best of 3 go to a 2 games.
Yeah, unfortunately, Colors had to ruin it for us last week. I was really hoping for the just 3-game series all year. Unfortunately, had to ruin that one for us.
Bot lane here for CBC. Do pop that level 2 first, but hook is going to land by Hyper. I don't know if you want that hook to land when you are sitting a level down here, so Hyper will actually be forced to flash very early on here. Not what you want, especially being a level down on a very aggressive bot lane.
Yeah, and I think that is going to be the name of this game. You want to see aggression from the top side on this pretty, I'd say, pretty even lane. You really want to see these players be able to outplay each other. And I think that was what a big point of this patch was. We want to have a greater opportunity for people to really express their skill expression, especially when it comes to kiting, when it comes to winning in lane.
Winning in lane, absolutely, as we have a little bit of fight going on both of the side waves now. Dracanis taking a very harsh trade away from Triple B. Of course, VR will eventually be able to out-heal Gwen in these early levels. That will eventually switch back up unless the patch today changed how that matchup works. Boss here walking a little bit too close to the sun here. That being Smitty could almost be forced to flash away, but is able to land that nice passive E, making sure Volkai is not going to be able to run down here quite yet.
Yeah, and you know, did have that second axe land, but isn't going to do too much. Is going to mean that there is going to be a scuttle there for Raska on that bot lane. Also had the Pike roam up just to dissuade that one even more.
Let's see, first dragon here, spawning in a couple of minutes. Don't really expect any super early fighting. Yes, you have the Olaf, but it's not the Olaf-Seraphine combo. Yes, there's an Olaf and a Seraphine in this game even, but they're not on the same team. Triple B taken down very low there. Remember, both of these top laners do have Ignite, so they are kind of both fishing for some of these early kills, taking each other down into lethal. Hopefully, fairly shortly, we do have Volkai hovering around the spot side. I think Hyper and X are a very hard lane to gank. You have so much mobility on an Ezreal Pike, so not really any chance, I don't think, for them to die to a gank, but absolutely be pressured away from a way it could be scary.
Yeah, and I'm honestly a little bit surprised to see X going on to the Ezreal here instead of one of those team fight champions. Did have a quadra kill in game 1, almost was able to carry Red Panda the entire way. Of course, that did end up going to CBZ in that first game. Instead, though, opting for this Ezreal, going to look for poke as much as they can. Of course, Pike going to have pretty good lethal threat at any point in the game. it's just a poor little jinx here.
Yeah, and especially once you hit that level 6 on the Pike, right? Then the lethal just gets that much bigger when you have an execute ultimate available for yourself here, as it does look like the bot lane for RPG will finally find themselves a recall timer. Not getting ganked as well also means that this, I would say, more early game bot lane than the Jinx for Khan. I'm just saying more early game because, yes, Ezreal is still going to outscale the Jinx, but Pike is much more of an early game champion than the Rakan, so they should be able to maybe win some fights if they want to take it early on. But if I learned anything from my game 2 here tonight, Kev, we're not taking fights if we don't absolutely have to.
Yeah, I really don't think either of these teams are going to try and have a team fight until we get to probably at least the second drag. It's really looking like it's a meta that's going to favor that classic LCK, we're just going to out-macro you kind of game. Wait till we get to these team fights and absolutely pop off. Of course, we are going to have this first drag coming in. That priority that we were talking about with the Pike and Ezreal is going to allow them to pick that one up. We'll see if Red Panda Gaming can continue kind of what they have been able to do every game, which is stack up these drags.
Yeah, stack up these early dragons has really been the name of the game for RPG throughout this series. Rasaka going in for a very deep invade there. Checking out Sonley a little bit, but it is kind of threatening his life. Is not level 6, so cannot Heartbreaker away to safety here quite yet. You do see Bull Guy up on the top side invading him as well, so he will be losing at least one buff. But 1v1 up here on the top side, Triple B is able to click the R button without any healing. Will be that first blood now picked up for Dracanis.
And just a little bit late there on that R from Triple B, like you said. Might have been able to actually turn that one if they were able to get in and proc those vitals after the ultimate. Decides instead to wait on that one, maybe underestimating the damage coming in from the Gwen there.
Yeah, underestimating the damage, maybe just misclicking the ultimate there as well. It did seem like Triple B could have won that 1v1. It was very close up until, unfortunately, the ult just came in maybe a second, maybe 2 seconds too late, and it actually, or would have absolutely turned in a different way. Looking at every other lane, though, it is largely even across the board. You have a very small CS lead for X, just, I believe, about 15 CS in the favor of this Ezreal. Again, that is just expected due to the nature of this matchup. They are much more pokey, much more aggressive in the early game, but yeah, the Jinx will still eventually be able to scale. Hopefully getting more kills than last game here as well. For Emperor Boss, a little bit scary here. Hyper also still not having level 6 Bull Guy, running him down with that Olaf unstoppable. Hyper is able to flash over the wall to safety. Rasaka still not level 6, trying to clear this red buff to pop it, but it's not going to be popped in time. Bull Guy now on the board with his first kill of the game for CBZ.
Yeah, and this Olaf turning out to be, like, really one of the most highly contested and most important picks thus far. With this new patch, Smitty
walking into Boss. Encore comes out, but doesn't even land in time. Kill will just be picked up there by X.
Yeah, and might be able to pick up another one here. Going to continue chasing that one down. Hyper's really low, though.
Bull Guy not going to have that ultimate available here for about another 45 seconds, but luckily is just going to be able to walk it out. Neither support having level 6 now, heavily impacting these jungle fights, but we got another fight in the 1v1 up on the top side again. Triple B coming so close to another kill, but unfortunately it's only another death for him. 2 kills now on the board for Dracanis.
Yeah, and I do think it is important to point out in this top lane matchup that the Gwen went for just the Ignite and TP, so is going to have that advantage when it comes to split pushing, allows her to push in waves and then TP to team fights if they do need to. Of course, going to have the flash come in for the Fiora. Of course, that late game split pushing potential from her is always going to be a threat.
Yeah, always. Like, you don't have to get ahead in the early game on the Fiora. You can always just, as you're saying, rely on the split push. Maybe not. I don't think Fiora is a necessarily hole breaker type of champion, but she can still look to be able to split push later on. First Rift Herald, I do believe, was just taken by Rasaka. Yes, so hopefully he can look to drop this on his winning lane in the bot lane right now.
Yeah, like you said, going to pick that one up. It's really important that you get gold onto your carries this early in the game. Of course, Drakeness for Red Panda is ahead on this top side, but
Yes.
is at some point probably going to get into a point where if Fiora does manage to proc all of those vitals, it is going to be really hard to win the 1v1. We just have to wait and see if the outplay does come through for Booty Bang and Billy. Of course, Raid Boss and Smitty kind of just doing what they've done all the series, just, you know, trade back and forth a little bit with your abilities if you can, but mostly use them to just clear waves.
Yeah, it's a control mage versus a control mage matchup. Neither of these players are playing for any type of kills or yeah, really any sort of pressure here in the early game. It's all about the lane prio. Where can we match our junglers? Drakenist going in for another 1v1 up here on the top side, Triple B. At this point in the game, you lose 2 1v1s in a row. One ultimate button like that will take you down very low. Now going to be forced to recall without TP. Drakenist kind of gets free reign on the wave.
Yeah, and even more importantly, because Drakenus is winning that those 1v1s, is allowing them to...
Hyper, forced to go over the wall. Vulkai going in for a jungle 1v1, a little bit isolated. Encore, unfortunately, will go River Cat. So Risaka, unfortunately, not going to be able to out-heal the Olaf. Suddenly the one able to pick up that kill away from his jungler. This second dragon on the board here would be first dragon for CBZ if they are able to take a look at the split push on the top side, though. Not even a Rift Herald needed for that type of split push. Drakeen is such a huge lead over Triple B. Now almost able to just 1v1 him underneath his tower in a couple of minutes. That amount of lead that he has, CB or X even forced to E away to safety. Vulkai has the 1v1 on boss, is a level down from the mid laner, but 1v1 Olaf versus Seraphine. Level doesn't matter as much as just being able to get on top for one more auto attack. Not even auto attack, just a Q. We'll get that second kill on the board now for Vulkai.
Yeah, and Boss kind of misplayed there. Wasn't quite able to dodge out those Qs enough. They did manage to dissuade the dragon, but that is going to be a few kills going over, and importantly, onto this Olaf is going to allow him to push the advantage even more.
Luckily for RPG here as well, CBZ did not opt to take the dragon off that, so it still is on the board for Risaka if he is going to try and take a Vulkai. Fishing for a fight, fishing for a steal, does have the Olaf ultimate available once again if he does just want to go face first, tanking the dragon for himself. Both junglers do have their smite available. It is all a matter of poke. Hook will go wide, will go running in. He has the ultimate, but it's not even going to be needed. 1500 HP left on the Dragon RPG. X flashing over the wall, looking for a 1v1 kill on the Emperor, but not going to have enough damage for it. The bot lane falls, and the dragon will fall in the hands of CBZ.
Yeah, and really unfortunately for them, even though Drakenus is winning that 1v1 on the top side, the 4v4 on the rest of the map is going really hard in the favor of CBZ. They're actually starting to get a gold lead here, of course. Got a kill onto the Jinx. This Olaf still scaling up, already has a shutdown, and should just continue taking over these team fights in the mid game.
Yeah, this Gwen is going to scale up quite scarily. I don't believe Gwen is usually the one to win topside 1v1s this early on in the game. So the fact that Drakenus has already gotten such a huge lead, almost taking that entire Adder turret completely on his own, gives him such a massive goal lead over Triple B and really everyone else now on the map, as you do see that Encore. We'll see there for Poke. There wasn't going to be any follow-up damage or CC, so wave clear, Poke, you know, it is a fairly short cooldown, so we'll be back up definitely before the next team fight.
Yeah, and if Seraphine can land those big team fights all followed up by the needlework, it should be a pretty big change in the team fights. Of course, you know, Viego, Heartbreaker, always a threat as well, but it's really looking like Vulkai is going to start taking over this game. Of course, Draken's still going absolutely ham on the top side.
Drakenus, he is just constantly dashing forward, drops that Ignite, drops the ultimate, and Triple B is just bullied out of lane here once again. Massive CS lead for Drakenus, massive gold lead there as well, taking his outer turret. I think just after plates fell, so he only got the 4 out of the 5 plates right before taking it, but still, first tower without the need of a Rift Herald is quite impressive for a top laner that scales.
Yeah, and after such a long game too, I think having this early advantage for the side of RPG, after also winning the last game, is just going to boost their confidence when it comes to executing these team fights. Of course, like we said, there are a lot of good teamfight ultimates coming in with the Heartbreaker, the Needlework, and the Encore. Really all of them, now that I think about it. The True Shot Barrage and the Execute from Pike can always change fights as well.
Yeah, it really is just all in their ultimates. Definitely do agree. Guy popping that ghost. Look for some sort of kill here onto boss. Flashless Seraphine is a dead Seraphine in the mid lane. Draken is trying to TP in to help his mid laner, but a little bit too late. Yes, you can nerf the damage, but you gotta still be able to run away in time too.
Yeah, and even though you're nerfing damage, it's still Seraphine on a 1v3, so she's really never gonna have much of a chance to win that one. Of course, you know, Seraphine mid is really good at that wave clear, but that seems to be a lot of what she's offering. Really is just that wave clear and that teamfight ultimates.
Yeah. Not much else. You also have the poke damage maybe a little bit before the team fight as well, but Seraphine, as with most control mages, their number one weakness is just getting caught out without that much mobility. Victor, the exact same type of champion, right? You land enough CC on them, they will almost always just get one shot because there is quite literally zero mobility on this champion outside of having flash, right? As now Boss is the one that will get to match Triple B up on the top side, sending Draconus down to the bot lane to try and take that outer tower next up for himself. For Saka, with his first gank up on the top side here, could be looking for something on to Triple B, but you see the rest of CBX walking up there as well. Draconus, it is not a fair fight for Emperor whatsoever. The needlework comes out, so much damage. Poor 80 carry Wolflord. Draconus now 3-0 on the board.
They guided the tower.
Oh my gosh, he miscalculated the tower damage, man. That's the tower damage buff showing it off right there.
Yeah, you know, we're just trying to get all of the spice and all of the not spice of this new patch.
Yes.
We got an absolute banger first game, had some good team fights. Second game, really slow. This third game, it's the Rift that's showing off, you know, and showing up. Tower going to take a kill, and that is kind of big deal that the shutdown did end up going over to Emperor there on the Jinx.
Yes. I believe that was like a 300 or 350 or 400 shutdown going on at the Jinx, so even though Emperor did die and lose kind of half of a wave, which is a lot for an early game Jinx, getting that large of a shutdown this early on does put him slightly ahead of RPGX, having both the Kraken Slayer plus Zeal and Dagger completed does do quite a lot of damage here. Pre-20 minutes, we got Dragon number 2 for either of these teams spawning in 5 seconds. There's going to be some sort of team fight here. I can't tell who's taking it yet.
Yeah, and Cam, I do want to ask you, what do you think about this Dark Seal coming in from the Seraphine?
Dark Seal, I could think about that after this team fight, I think, but for right now, if they do pop off in this team fight, then I'm gonna call it worth. If they don't, then they don't. Then that's how the Dark Seal is gonna kind of have to play out for this one. X-Stick Dragon number 1 of the game. Blue guy is hovering. He doesn't have Ghost, but he does have the Smite if he wants to just run straight at it. He doesn't have Vision of it, so doesn't want to play super far forward with that 300 shutdown on his head. Will just be Dragon number 2 in the favor of RPG.
Yeah, and
Oh.
Red Panda
Oh my
really
gosh.
showing Red Panda really showing why they are topping the group right now, absolutely taking over in this early game, especially with the lead garnered by Draconus in the 1v1. Of course, you know, going to just continue bullying Triple B on that top side.
Draconus going in for a 1v1, not even realizing it's not a 1v1. He's got all of the friends that he could ever hope for up here on the top side. Triple B will fall here once again. Bull Guy running in now does have his ultimate pop. Now running straight at the bot lane. Heartbreaker trying to get away, but it's not in time. RPGX force flash away here as well. Already using that heal. Emperor tried to flash over the wall to cut him off, but Flash somehow still was able to kill him just before he fell as well. It's a 1 for 2, again in the favor of CBZ.
And as soon as we start hyping them up, it looks like it's going to be CBZ turning this game around. They are going to be able to pick up this tier 1 at the very least after getting those kills. And that's the unfortunate part of the way this game has gone. Red Panda Gaming is winning super hard on the top side, but just cannot manage to win that 1v4, and it looks like it's going to be Emperor taking over this game on the Jinx.
Yeah, Emperor having a much better Jinx number Jinx number 3? I don't know. Jinx game 3 here. Then the Jinx game 2 now getting 3, 1, and 2. Lot of CS here at 20 minutes. Hook lands on a bull guy. Huge encore as well coming out. Lots of charms, lots of CC, and the rest of CBZ are not able to get in the fight whatsoever. Bull guy goes in so much damage, but unfortunately without the follow-up means that the rest of them will fall. That's a 400 plus 150 shutdown gifted over the bot lane of RPG Cubs.
Yeah, and well, there we go. I hit him with the reverse caster curse. Got to give one for each side. Going to have Drag come over, it looks like, for Red Panda Gaming. See whether this one does get contested. I don't imagine it will. Maybe a laser over the wall, but that's really all you got for
no vision
CBZ.
in the pit here. Smitty, he wanted to steal. He wanted to just try and get vision in the pit. Unfortunately, he will give his life. That is now 3 kills over for RPG Cubs as well as the Baron. And I guess a very, very extended team fight. While all this was happening, Triple B was able to get that outer turret on the top lane as well as the outer and inner turrets down there in the bot lane. So that little bit of extra local gold getting him slightly back in the game. He still probably won't be in a position to 1v1 Draconus anytime soon, but any sort of extra pressure on the side waves is absolutely the win con that Fiora can play for.
Yeah, and a little bit of a funny trade there. Sondly actually winning out the contest for that red buff against the Ezreal. We're just going to see, though, these teams, I'd imagine, go back into farming mode until we get our next objective. Very classic LCK style. Vulgai, though, may be looking for something spicy on the flank here. Sondly also
and
there.
Sondly hovering at the backside here. RPGX is able to eat over the wall as well as dodge out the W from Sondly, trying to turn it back around for some sort of 1-for-1, but it's not going to be coming out in time. 150 shutdown now over to Smitty. Luckily for RPG, there are no objectives for CBZ to take off that pick.
Yeah, and while that's happening, Gwen is going to get that tier 2 on the top side. Going to be able to rotate over and just help Drakeness get out. Emperor, though, maybe a little bit aggressive here. Vulgai, also very, very deep.
No. Vulgai, I don't think he realized Fasaka was standing there behind him. Luckily, Vulgai, being as fed as he is, with Ghost up in a couple seconds here as well, I think not even needing Flash, Ghost is perfectly fine for him to be able to get out of any of these sticky situations. It is 40 seconds now on that Hex Tech Soul Point for RPG, or Dragon number 2 for CBZ if they're the ones able to take it.
Yeah, and this is where it is going to matter. Can you get the Jinx resets? Is she going to get shut down? Can you land that big needlework encore combo that we saw absolutely destroy that last team fight? Both teams going to be looking for the vision set up so that they can get what they want here. Of course, it looks like Red Panda going to have to clear out some really deep vision before they can really get to this one.
Dragon spawning up here in just another second. Full vision control now in the favor of CBZ. RPG forced to completely face check. Look at how much vision CBZ even has been able to set up in this pit. Encore comes out, but it's the Jinx that's able to take the second Dragon for his team. Now here comes the Jinx Rock, here comes Jinx damage. Emperor still sitting unkilled in the backline, but Vulgai also sitting at almost full HP. Got the mid laner for the top laner traded so far in this team fight. RPGX walking a little bit too close there to Smitty. Does take a little bit of a bad trade for that one, but that's a Dragon plus 1 kill in the favor of CBZ. RPG only able to trade it back for one of their own.
Yeah, and well fought. The Seraphine ult only gets 2 members there, so was still good. Did get onto the important members, but not quite what they needed. Drakeness with the stopwatch does stay alive as well. I think that was very important there. But, you know, objectives down, time to go back to farming.
Yep, we don't need to fight anymore. You got a 206 Rakan down there, starting to look like me on the Rakan. You steal all the kills, you steal all the buffs for yourself at this point. Got a 150 shutdown for Sondly here as well. Pike hook? Nope, okay, we're gonna be alright. But yeah, it's a very, very quiet point now of the game. Just both teams, 2 dragons apiece. You got a very small, 500 gold lead for CBC. Such a neck-and-neck game here.
Yeah, and you know, what's the point in fighting when you can wait till neutral objectives? I mean, that just gives us more time to rant on about Camcom being absolutely goated on Recon, of
Oh,
course.
yes.
It does look like Red Panda is doing a very good job of forcing CBZ back, trying to get their own deep vision after getting really what was a pretty impactful fight there earlier on with that needlework on-4 combo. Of course, just that 1-4 coming in, going to allow them to push that mid wave back out pretty easily.
Now, Kempo, to answer your question from a couple of minutes ago here with my very clear results-based analysis, looking at these Dark Seals, you got 1 stack still on the Dark Seal for Boss. Unfortunately, has gotten caught out a little bit more times than he's gotten assists or any kills on the board, so he's... Dark Seal is still able to scale up a little bit, but 5 stacks for Drakenus. Man, his name, I'm gonna learn his name one day. Drakenus up there in the top lane, I think absolutely is gonna, maybe even if he gets a couple more kills, could like turn that into a Magis as well. Oh my gosh, RPGX, calm down!
Yeah, and it is going to be X getting a lot of damage, is going to be able to walk that one out, but almost goes down. You know, there were buffs to your health, but you take a bunch of damage from Jinx, you're still going to take a bunch of damage from Jinx here.
Yeah.
Going to have that red buff handed over. Almost got real spicy there, but we're just going to go back to right where we were.
It is quite funny, right, that like we can nerf all the damage in the game, buff all the resistances and health in the game, but positioning clearly is still quite important. If you're still positioning very, very wrong, then that kind of poke, that kind of just instant one-shot can still absolutely happen. It just is supposed to make it slightly less possible, right? As there's a Baron steal going on. I'm calling it a steal because it's just a straight-up robbery going on right now. No vision, no knowledge whatsoever of this Baron for CBZ. RPG is just taking it right under their nose.
And this is turning into quite the intense affair here in our Game 3. Red Panda Gaming have done very good at getting these neutral objectives. CBZ in this game, though, evening up the drags. Of course, we are going to have that next one coming up in a minute or so. Gotta see the vision setup coming in now, though.
Vision setup right now is in the favor of CBZ. They have been so good at getting all of the bot side prio plus the vision around these dragons. It's just these team fights not always going so much in their favor. This is sole point for now. Both teams, we are still sitting dead even on these dragons, 2 apiece for both of them. So it is all in these team fights. Both of these teams looking for something down there. Both the top laners are split pushing up here on the top side as well. Drakenus the only one with TP, and Triple B not opting to even take TP this game. So these split pushes are made significantly harder when they do want to try and team fight for these objectives. Man, Drakenus, he's got scissors to just cut down these towers, man. They're not even for cutting down champions. They're for cutting down towers at this kind of game.
Yeah, and that attack speed buff coming in from the E as well,
TP?
going to be pretty important. And this is the power of the TP, going to be able to turn this into a 4v5. Of course, Emperor, if they do get a kill, could turn this pretty quickly.
Drakenus not even opting to finish that outer tower, instead TPing in way before the fight even starts to ensure he is here for the initial engage. Triple B now pushing out that wave as well as starting to walk down to this lane, so both the top laners will be here for the fight. Dragon is up on the map. Dragon number 3 for both these teams. Solidly going in the backside. Huge double knockup as well as the ultimate completely catching out Drakenus there. That is the Fed member for RPG. That is the member that you're trying to catch up. A Pike is going to be the first member to fall, and in the end it is RPG the one taking the Dragon for themselves. Rasaka flashing out, going to go golden as well, but there's just not enough damage in the world to try and turn this one back around. RPGX flashing in, Eing in so much damage, but unfortunately will not be enough. It is the ace plus not the dragon for CBZ.
Yeah, and that Jinx ult came in clutch there. Took a big chunk out of several members, of course. Emperor did end up going down, and you know, not what you want to see. Obviously, you wanted the drag, but we're able to get some gold back in the pocket of Triple B on that top side, as well as it looks like an inhibitor tower. And really, that is the power of Olaf. the attack speed buff very, very strong, of course. For those of you who don't know, there is a League of Legends speedrunning community. And I will tell you, for
Oh,
the ARAM, just see how quickly you can destroy the entire enemy side. Olaf is the pick, simply because the buff to attack speed.
I've seen those speedrunning videos. I think the one that's like the quickest Baron time is the funniest. That's the one where they like stack 20 million Jin traps in the Baron pit, right? And then the instant Baron spawns, all the Jin traps are procced, and they just one-shot the Baron. I think that's my favorite one. I think that's the only one that I actually have seen, though.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. There are actually a lot of categories. I know I used to actually speedrun. There's a category that's Jinx 1v5 intermediate bots. And there is actually a big, there's actually a lot of, like, you specifically pick the bots based upon how well you'll do into them. There's certain pathing that you have to follow if you want to be competitive. It is actually quite an interesting little niche thing within the League community, but of course, you know, most importantly, in League, we have Summoner's Rift and competitive coming in.
Nah.
You don't think competitive is the most important? Well,
No.
besides skins. Skins are obviously the most important.
Obviously, speedrunning is significantly more important here. Triple B actually did get a triple kill in the last two, but I forgot if I said that or not, but getting a triple kill off of being 0-4-3 is really quite impressive. That puts him not even just back in the game, almost with the lead over Draconus now on the side wave 1v1s. Draconus, though, on the side wave on the bot lane, level 18, takes the inhibitor tower on his own, has Triple B and Smitty trying to match him. Can he win out on the 1v2? Gonna be trying to target down Smitty first, but the ultimate does give enough healing for him to be able to live. Meanwhile, down here in the mid lane, the rest of RPG are starting to fall as well. Emperor again, that excited reset, now shut down 200 gold, picking him up off of RPGX, and Hyper, of course, falling before him as well. Rasaka and Boss now, last two members of RPG, have to fend off all 5 of CBX.
Yeah, and that was really important that they saved the inhibitor there. Even if this game does go longer, they're not going to have to worry about those super minions pushing in.
Oh my gosh.
However, Emperor absolutely massive on this Jinx.
That stopwatch, and the Encore comes out as well, but he is just sent straight back to the fountain, and all of a sudden it is an ace plus a dead Olaf, unfortunately for CBZ, but you got the rest of the members here, you got the Nexus open, CBZ taking their week 4 match 2-1 against RPG.
Yeah, really good stuff coming out from them, and when they needed him the most, Emperor shows up on this Jinx. Absolute pop-off performance. That was so much better than Game 2. What can I say? Glad to see some engaged champions coming in. Of course, you do want to play towards what your best win condition is. But really good stuff coming in from both teams. That is going to mean, though, CBZ going to move to 2-1. Of course, did have a bye week already, but that is going to mean that the leaders of Group C are now going to have a loss as well.
Yeah, RPG Cubs coming into this week, remember, undefeated on the series score. I'm not entirely sure on the individual game score, but 3-0 is very impressive for the week 4 match. CBZ coming in 1-1, having their bye week on week number 2. So now tying them up 2-1 and 3-1 now between these two teams' series score. I can just click through the stats here real quick on them.
And I mean, if you are a Red Panda Gaming fan, you do have a little bit of copium. Of course, they are playing with a subbed mid and bot laner here tonight. So if they are able to get their full roster together, it might look a lot stronger. But it was CBZ that was able to pull this one out. Yeah. I do want to give big shout-outs, though, to Draconus. Played very well in every performance for them. Of course, did get kind of camped quite a bit on the side of Triple B there, but is able to come out with the win at the end of the day.
Yeah, I believe it was CBZ. They won game 1, dropped game 2, and a pretty massive comeback actually for RPG. Remember, CBZ were perfect in the first 10 to 15 minutes of game 2, and now game 3 again coming out with a dominant win over RPG, just taking it in, 33 minutes. I feel like the we haven't found the regular game time yet for this brand new meta today, right? So I'd put it around 30 minutes as the average game time, maybe 35. These do feel like significantly longer games. So 33, I would say, is fairly quick compared to the other 2 wins we've had today.
Yeah, and we'll just have to wait and see what both these players in our league and the pros do end up deciding is important. What are these strong picks? Like Infinite did say on the analyst desk earlier, it's almost like they dropped a preseason update in the middle of the season. So going to be important to come up with these big picks. I definitely think Olaf has shown himself as a pick that is going to continue to be very, very strong.
Olaf, I think Talia will still be up there as well. Seraphine was a very contested pick here in this series, as well as I believe Ezreal and Jinx. Both of these AD carries coming in at least 2, if not 3 games for each of them. Just a reminder here on the graphics. I am subbing in for Infinite here on the game 3. Unfortunately, he wasn't feeling well enough to continue the series. So, Camcom here.
Our great duck overlord, Camcom, coming in clutch so that Kevbo didn't have to do the solo cast for game 3.
Kevbo was so down to solo cast this, by the way. I was like, no. It's okay. I wasn't expecting to cast, but you know what? I'm always down. I'm here as your host, producer, and caster, a play-by-play caster here tonight.
Well, with that being said, an absolute banger series coming in from both teams. Congrats to CBZ, of course.
Yes.
Of course, Red Panda Gaming still at the top of their group, still going to have a very good chance to make it to playoffs. And I'm excited to see where both these teams end up, because I don't imagine we'll see either of them until playoffs, probably.
No.
So I do hope that both of them have a good rest of their season, and I'm excited to see where they do end up in the standings.
Yes, absolutely. Good luck to both CBZ and RPG. Based off this game here today and their series scores coming into the day, absolutely can be ending top of the table here for Group C in the VAS. But that's going to be all the time we have for you here today. I think Stream 2 has already ended for Valor, but tomorrow and Friday, you can get more League of Legends action here on Stream number 2 tomorrow, and I think Stream number 1 on Friday. I've been Camcom. Infinite was here for games 1 and 2. Kevbo's been here for all 3 games. Thank you all for watching, and catch you back here tomorrow.